Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to the Inforunners. I'm XQ. Today I'm joined by Badgers and Algared. We are late today, and it's entirely my fault because I thought it was Thursday. And then I woke up randomly to all these messages on my phone from these two going, "Where the hell are you?" But I've had a week. I went and got a flu shot Monday morning and then came
Oh,
home
that
and
would explain
got
it.
incredibly sick. Really, really sick. Like I actually got a massive cut on my forehead. I actually got incredibly druggy. I couldn't speak. I was trying to turn the lights on, like anyone that knows me, I've got Google, so I turned my lights on and off with Google. I couldn't turn my lights on and off. So I got up, went to go to the bathroom, came back in, and I couldn't walk properly, and just like full head butted into the air conditioner. Um, it was not a pleasant experience. So yeah, I've been rather out of it. So yeah. But yeah, that's why we're almost an hour late. So that's entirely my fault. I didn't wake up until 15:15 on the hour, so I was probably half an hour late to begin with. I didn't have a thumbnail made, so I had to do all that stuff. So entirely on me. So apologies for the tardiness. But we're here now, and we're probably not going to have regular viewers because again we've lost track of time and all that type of stuff. So yeah. All right, how have you two been? That just keeps disappearing. That's fine.
Yeah,
More attractive
magic.
that way.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, no, I'm all good, thank you, buddy. Moseying along and dealing with work and everything else, which means I haven't been anywhere near as active as I'd like to have been. But yeah, and then just kind of trying to avoid the absolute dumpster fire that is 318.
A lot of your videos have actually been coming up on my personal feed, so I was asking myself what I'd done wrong as note.
Wow.
No, which is weird though, because I did watch a few of them, so yeah, it's been interesting to watch some of your stuff. So yeah. All right, what about you, Algared? What have you been up to?
I finished one round of marking. I got a second round of marking to come. Yeah.
Yeah.
The life of a teacher. It feels like perennial marking. But I will say, Badgers, you just need to get rid of the fuzz on the sides, and you'll have quite a distinguished look there.
Thanks, mate.
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
well, you know, the area of the goat is actually starting to look really good.
Do you know what this actually is about? In January, I said, do you know what? The last time I feel appreciated by my work, I'm going to shave.
Oh.
Shots fired.
Yeah,
That's right. No one at work knows ice cream.
Yeah, you're gonna like a wizard before you're done.
You can get rid of that and get your wizard growth going down. You know, but it is starting to. You're finally starting to get a distinguished look there. So you know,
I had my first. So I've got some beers kicking about, which I don't think show up for the camera anyway. But there's a great brand in the UK called Brewdog. I really like him. But I'm having my first ever lifetime experience of getting beer foam in your mustache. So yeah, it's being a bit of an experience.
Yes, Space
That's
Tech.
usually when I go.
Yes, Space Tech. The bot is live. Yeah.
Yeah. When I start to go through those situations, that's when I go and get out the clippers and shave, or just the razor and fully get rid of it.
Yeah. So this week,
that bad. That's when I.
This week, if you guys can't tell, is going to be messy as fuck because I am not going to be driving as I normally am. I'm going to rely on these two to kind of drive a bit because I am so out of it. I shouldn't even be sitting, let alone driving a street right now. But yeah. All right, so the bot is up. Questions are going. Is there anything else I need to do? Remind me, guys. Is there anything else I need to do? Because I'm that bad at the
moment. Not until ISC drops. Yeah. I don't think there's anything. We just need to sit, chew a shanola, answer questions, wait for ISC.
Right.
Then go live, switch it so we get rid of all the horrible sounds. And yeah.
Actually, I shouldn't.
Anyway, if you do have questions, don't forget to put in the word question in your as you're doing that, and that will make it pop up in our bot. Will grab that, chuck it into our Discord so we can actually see them. It does do that for both Discord and both Twitch and YouTube, which makes life really easy for us. If you ask a question and you've got a question in the chat, it will go into our list, and you don't need to. If we don't answer it straight away, that's okay. We will get to it. It's just we answer them in order we get them, and because it's a discussion, and we go backwards and forward, it might take a while before we get them. So sometimes when we go answering questions, we're 2 hours behind. If you don't need to put the question multiple times, we will get to them.
I am going to answer this one though, because for some reason it didn't come through, but I can still see it there. So that one by stop typing in Twitch, you bastards. Nova A42. God, I can't even read properly. I heard that the Anvil Hurricane may be increasing in price. Am I crazy? No, you are not crazy. You are absolutely correct. It is going up in price. That's why I brought a bunch of Warbond CCUs, because I'm expecting. Well, we talked about this, so I said I reckon it's going to go to 220, which is a $25 increase, because then it's got like
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, what did you say, Algared, at the time? Because it's only a guess. We can only have a guess based on our experience. So yeah, what was your guess?
I can't remember the price. I kind of figured it'd go at most to around the Scorpius pricing at that. But what makes me wonder about the pricing is the Vulture's price increase. Because that was a lot more than both of us expected.
Well, also the Antares didn't go anywhere near where we want. So that they are surprising us with pricing at the moment, aren't they?
So the fact that Vulture went higher than we really expected, I think it was $25 more than I was expecting, about $155. You were around the same price as a prospector. You were expecting around that, a little bit more, a little bit less. I can't remember, but it went $25 more. And when we were thinking about it afterwards, we said, yeah, we can see why, because you can kind of make money straight off the bat, a bit like with the reasoning they use for the Genesis.
Mm-hmm.
But that price increase could also be indicative of the Hurricane's increase. The Hurricane could increase by more than we're expecting. So
I just think there was too many people buying the Hurricane over the Scorpius, and they that they can't put ships down in price; they can only put them up. So, just the nature of the beast, and the Hurricane is unfortunately just much better.
As you said, the Hurricane is, I think, a much better ship for two people. It really does.
So your price
feel like you get back.
Because I want to ask Badgers as well, and there's another question, super chat we've got to answer. So real quick, we'll come back to it if you want. But what's your price, real quick?
Yeah, price same as a Scorpius.
Okay, what about you, Badgers? What do you reckon it's going to fall?
Yeah, I can see that. I think reasonably kind of in line with the Scorpius makes sense to me. But like you say, they've been kind of interesting with their pricing and not as predictable, so it could land anywhere. But yeah, I must admit I wasn't there for the conversation where we were talking about knowing that it was going up. So I'm kind of So I think that's reasonable.
So the way I kind of put it to Algared was, at the time we were thinking the Antares was going to cost more. Now I know it costs less. I'm probably still convinced that's roughly where it's going to land, because you know how it's $10 cheaper. I reckon so. It's like Hurricane at 220, Antares. I believe the Antares is 230, unless my brain is pretty much right now.
That.
And then you've got 240 for the Scorpius. But yeah, got to remember I'm really out of it at the moment. But if that's where I was at, that's where I think it's going to be. Makes sense to my brain. But that's only if the Antares.
Currently the Scorpius.
Yeah, Scorpius is 240. I know that for certain.
Yeah.
But the Antares, I thought it was $10 cheaper, so that makes it 230. And then
the Antares is 230.
Yeah, but okay. Then I'm convinced that's where it'll be. Then 220. That's originally where I thought it was going to go. And the interesting thing about that was there was Warbond CCUs for $5. So that literally means I got like 3 of them. So that means I got a $20 saving. So yeah. So I've still got 3 ships to go up through there. So yeah. And they also lined up with the Vulture CCUs that I got as well, so I got very lucky there.
Yep.
Vulture and so
the Hurricane,
2 CCUs, and I got 3 of them each a $50 saving with those already. So yeah. And
in answer to the question about the Hurricane's pricing, it's currently $195.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So that's what I meant, $25. I got to go back to so right up as we asked that question. Ken dropped a super chat for $2 US, and he said, "Has CIG stated a percentage of player base that cannot play?" Not that I'm aware of, because I've been in bed all week. So I am really out of it. So if one of you guys know, or someone in chat knows, that can answer Ken's question for him there, I haven't heard anything, Ken. But I would imagine that it's probably somewhere in the 50 percentile. I don't know about you guys, and I don't. This is not to sound like an arsehole or anything like that. This is just trying to be a bit of realist. But I found in the past, and this is with all computer games, people that tend to not have as good of a computer, I find they tend to have more of a problem. And it tends to be like someone that's brought, you know, you can get different level of quality of components. Like people buy what they can afford, essentially, right? And that's what sucks about what I'm about to say. But if you have a really well-performing PC, even if it's not the newest, but it's like well maintained and looked after, and they were better, like they were the top line of parts when it was first purchased, that seems to run better than someone that's skipped out and brought, like, you know, a cheaper motherboard, or somewhere along the line they've cut a corner. And I found just in life you get what you pay for. Because like I've got particular friends, when they play games, they have the same problem every time they go to a new game or something like that. Especially when it first comes out, they have issues because it's not optimized as well to play on stuff like that. And you got to remember, and I know I'm talking to the group of people that know this. We are in alpha after all, but this is essentially the most unoptimized thing I've almost ever played, because it is every time we go to play, it's something new, isn't it? You know, so
yeah.
Actually, the startup screen tells you it's an early access alpha, not just alpha.
Yeah.
So whenever you log in, you get that little phrase down the bottom that says early access alpha.
Now I know, Algared, you were finally able to get in, but what about you, Badgers? I haven't had a chance to talk to you. How did you have you been getting in no problem?
Yeah, so initially I saw all the problems. I woke up to all the problems that they've been having because, of course, when they released it US time, it was too late here already. So I just kind of got in and took one look at the problems and went, yeah, we'll leave that for the weekend. We won't play. And I don't think I gave it a go trying to stream that Sunday and just booted it up and it just wouldn't play. I couldn't get in at all.
Yeah, that's the one I watched. It was hilarious. Called "Do You Like Load Screens?" It was quite funny.
Yeah. So yeah.
But I'm amused.
Since the patch, I haven't streamed at all.
I'm a bit of a
I put nothing up, but
a bit of a sadist though. Yeah, I enjoyed your.
He was amused.
But I mean, I got in at the end. I got in last week, and I was playing a few bits, but I found that, you know, I'm just going to hold off because the few missions that I tried to do, I couldn't complete for server reasons.
Yeah.
And it was just killing my rep. And I've lost access to a bunch of different missions now because I couldn't complete missions and it's shown as failed or abandoned.
Yeah, I think we've all had.
Pain.
I think we've all had those frustrations too, because like I've lost paints and stuff like that. I would hope when they kind of get it to when they're ready to drop 18.1, they do some kind of soft wipe just on. Like, I wouldn't want them to do rep as an example because a lot of people get really annoyed, but I'd love them to do like an item reset. I don't think most people give a shit about that. At the end of the day, I think it, rather than make people, well, look how long 3.17 was out. It was out for what, 18 months before a wipe? If you make people wait 18 months because of a bug, or a few people have to lose items for a week that they can get back, I think the majority, actually, we can do a poll on that. That'd be really cool to see what the community thinks. But I think that's the fairer way to go. Just do an item wipe. So any guns that you've collected in that week and items, poof, they're gone. But you keep your money, you keep your rep, but all the items. Let's do a poll real quick. Well,
the other thing that, while you're doing that, the other thing that I found frustrating in the last while is when I first couldn't get in, and the first error I was getting was an account error. Check your login details and then try again. You know, that always raises alarm bells when you start getting those types of messages. So I contacted CIG and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And the response was, "Hey, it's just part of the problem of the new patch." Okay, no problem, and just keep trying to log in.
And we lost him. He'll be back, as he always is. All right. Poll 1 is...
Week before I was able to get in. It may have been earlier, but
You're back now, Algared.
okay. So yeah, it took a while for me to be able to get in. First few times I was in was fine. The last time I was in this morning, but before that was when we took out the vultures to try and do the vultures buy guide. I could do the first jump and then couldn't do any more quantum jumps. So this game just wouldn't work. I tried logging out of a ship at that point, and it told me the ship wasn't landed, so it wouldn't let me log out. So it was just, oh, sod it. I was in this morning. I decided I'll try and sell off or get rid of all the junk in my inventory that I'd been picking up because, you know, I put rubbish in the bin because it's the right thing to do. And unfortunately, gowns no longer give you money. You can sell them for $0, which for me was like, what's the point?
Wow. No is ecstatically jumping into the lead for that poll already. Really? You guys are that against a reset? Holy crap! Okay, that surprises me. But it's
No. They're
to
saying, would you mind? They're saying no, they wouldn't mind.
Oh shit! I'm an idiot. Right? Yeah. Okay. I worded
So
it poorly.
yeah, you've got 16% saying they would be upset by it, and
shit! I worded that terribly. I'm an idiot. Yeah, I should have done that. Yeah, I might redo that just because there might be some people. I'm going to end that because that's my fault. Again, I told you guys, if you didn't hear it at the start of the stream, I'm very, very sick and not thinking clearly at all. How do I... Oh, you can't close a poll on Twitch? Ugh. Right.
Don't worry about it.
All right. Should. Yeah. Should there be a what to get Pates and Uns back in 318? All right, there we go. Bang. Much clearer now. All right, now I gotta try and get your camera back now.
Yep.
I think I'm Algared. I was singing during the week while I was sick. I'm thinking, man, we're gonna have to get onto Algared's internet connection at some point and get this shit sorted. So
yeah,
we're gonna have a talk about that.
MBM might not be a problem.
Well, realistically, any Aussies might be answer this, but you should be like the NBN rollout is done in Australia, so you should be able to contact them and get it fixed.
I should be able to get the curb from not just to the curb but to the premises, but they keep telling me nope, it's not available. Not available in my area yet.
Which means it'll never be available then if that's the case.
Which is a frustration, So
did they give you an ETA
I keep getting
when?
messages. I keep getting the emails from the NBN saying, or the letters from NBN saying, "Hey, it's coming soon, coming into your area soon." The ability to go from, to the premises, and every time you check and they say check with your service provider, and you check with your service provider, and I say no, not yet, no, not yet.
So first time chatter, what's his name? Sorry, my eyes I'm very sick today, so I apologize in advance. Ndragon01 says, to address your previous theory about build quality, I built a brand new PC for 318, except video card is a bit older, and I've not been able to run. I was able to run 317 just fine. I have not been able to log in for 12 days, and I did say generalistically speaking. This is a back end issue mainly. But as Starson goes in general, you would agree the better your PC is, the better it runs. And I think most people would agree with that. And I found out throughout my life, like I've seen people that, like, why is it working for everyone else, but it's not working for me? And a lot of the times it comes back to their PC in some way. That was not me having a go at anyone. That was just me trying to be a bit realistic with PC stuff. But in the case of this patch specifically, it is highly back end. That's why it's been random across the board. We'll put it this way. Salty Mike stream for 5 days, as an example, was just him waiting in line. Croncy was the same, just him waiting in line. So some of the big streamer people were just totally shit out of luck. And then people like that we had on last week, like Daily Noob, He was on every day.
Had no problem.
He had no problems at all because he just got in
Yeah.
right at the beginning. And once you got past that thing at the beginning, you were able to get in again. And then
Yeah.
they did the kind of like an update. And every time the update came out, you had to get through again. But he just happened to be, when he logged on at every time during the day, it was low numbers and he got through. So he was streaming every day consistently as anything. And it was quite funny to watch, you know. So he had a lot of people watching him more than usual because, you know, and it gave him a little boost. I just found that actually, like, it showed there is no such thing as streamer privilege. I found that kind of fun and humbling in a way. So yeah.
Yeah. Like I did the download for the new patch today.
Mm.
And we'll talk about that because Badgers was saying, bringing up some of the things that I think are really good with that.
Mm.
Logged in, no problem. And I've always found with the patches that they do when it's a big patch and people are having trouble, every subsequent hot fix they do, or that just makes it a little bit easier for them, or makes it easier for us to be able to get in and do stuff. So
yeah.
But yeah.
I think what I was just to kind of address that thing, that was not me trying to be elitist and say upgrade your computer. That was just saying make sure your computer doesn't have an issue is what I was trying to say.
But it's the nature of a beast, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and not all of us, like, well, even in this room, you know, like, not to pick on you, Algared, but you're not as computer savvy as myself, are you? As an example, so that's what I'm trying to get at. Is if you are not computer savvy, reach out to a friend and get him to have a look at your PC because there might be an issue there as well, you know. And any it doesn't hurt. It's just like health in your own life, like checking your own body and stuff. You should check your PC's health from time to time as well to make sure it's all running well. And it doesn't ever hurt, besides myself, to get a second opinion. If I have, like, even though I'm way more advanced than my friends and family, one thing I've learned doing Inforunners is a fresh set of eyes, and Badgers, you'd agree with this too, wouldn't you? Is just getting someone else to look at it, sometimes from a different perspective. They just see something different, yeah?
I'd agree with that.
Do you know the worst thing about your beard is the fact that you do this all the time now? You know, God, I just can't believe you just remind me of the female matchmaker in Mulan. You know, where she does that with the ink? Someone will find a clip of the matchmaker from Mulan, but she's this really big woman, and when Mulan's talking to her, she gets ink on her hand, and she does this and draws a beard on her face, and that's what I just... And he'll never now touch his face ever again.
No, I'm just using that hand now to go find the Mario Kart character that you remind me of. 2 seconds.
What do I look like?
You do at the minute.
So anyway,
Toady.
While that's going on, let's do some questions.
These glasses actually do work. I wouldn't, like, you know, all the issues I've had with the streams and stuff, they just totally remove the pain. Anyway, yeah, go ahead, Algared, question.
Yeah, I will say the polarizing glasses will help with the glare because they'll take that out.
Yeah.
One of the things I do like about wearing my glasses, because, you know, they have a polarizing glass as well, but the thing I hate about the glasses is they pick up the lights and reflect them back, and I find that a distraction. So, yeah, so I'll opt to wear the contact lenses when I'm streaming if I can, but lights literally can cause you pain and, you know, make it difficult for you. You've got to do stuff to get around it, and sometimes you wear the polarizing glasses to prevent that, and you just suffer with the reflections and weird stuff. And fortunately, unlike you, because my glasses are so thick, it also does weird things with the... I find it does weird things with the green screen.
Well,
so I'm always with that.
Yeah, I'm not used to wearing glasses or anything like that. So yeah. All right, first question, Algared.
It's just a nerdy look you've got for now. So Badgers, why do you think? And this was a question that did come up last week because Daily Noob is a Navy guy, and he loves the Perseus. And so the question was, why do you think so many Navy people like the Perseus?
So I think it's down to 2 things. One is that it's got very, very traditional lines, the bow shape, the turret. They are the central position of the bridge. Very, very kind of traditional. And the other thing I genuinely think is that it has a very real world equivalent, which is ships like the Tirpitz, which were commerce raiders, which were designed to go in and go find convoys and then just level the convoy. So yeah, I think that's probably two reasons. Did Drop or did Noob kind of indicate why he did? What was his answer?
So long story short, he just really, really likes it, right? Like you. He's very similar to you. And what I actually, someone could probably snip this and send it to him after you answer this, but I try to talk him out of it as I do, because I think it's like I said, get some other ships first. Like, my usual response, like get a Polaris and earn down to a Perseus, which is, but if you've got the money, yeah, buy it, no problem. But would that still be your response to him? Like, it's not a financially responsible ship to buy, is it? Well, in my opinion, you tell me. You tell me
there aren't any ships of that price range and up that are financially responsible.
No.
None of them are, right?
But you know what I mean, though, right?
If you're paying hundreds of dollars for a fucking ship in a space game, you are unhinged like the rest of us.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, it's like we'll always say, my primary value on games has always been, do you want it?
Yeah.
And it's the problem is a lot of people will get to the point where they really want a ship, or they want something in a game, and there is no logic in the world that's going to convince them otherwise. They're just like, it's an itch they got to scratch, and they're going to scratch it. So there.
Feb Pastor in Twitch chat is just like throws wallet at screen. I just find that funny, like just the visual of like, but yeah.
Take the money.
So for me,
it is.
So I always come back to the Perseus, and it was like one of the things, the very first things I ever said to you when you said I'm a fan of the Perseus was, it's a $350 ship masquerading as a $675 ship, and I still stand by that after all this time. That said, I love that ship, but one of the things that we have to do here, especially when and this is one of the things you don't like doing. You don't like giving financial advice, Badges, right? So I'm not going to put you in that spot. But one of the things that when we do the fix my fleets and stuff like that is we have to stand back, no matter how much we like a ship, and look at the price. And that's why things like sell your fighters and sell things under $250 and stuff like that comes about, because they're not going to maximize in value and stuff like that. That said, though, that ship will, probably, 5 to 6 times its value. But again, when there's only a $75 difference between it and a Polaris is probably, because it's a capital ship, might be up to 10 times. So when you start to look at things like that, you knowing the things I've said in the past, that gap of $75 is going to widen quite considerably. Not to mention the ship's probably twice as big. So he is getting a Polaris first, but then he wants to get a Perseus, and that I don't have a problem with, right? If that's his jam, go nuts. And we're always trying to get people to spend the cash better. Actually, when I was in bed this week, obviously, as I've stated, there were a few people on Twitter, and they were asking me things about CCU chains, and obviously the $95 Carrack at 17% is the best we've seen, and questions like that. What's the best I've seen? And people were, even just at the St. Patrick's Day sale, were linking me little CCU chains they'd come up with, and there were people saving $70 at that sale, which I'm going to be honest, I must have been sick because I missed all of that. So I've been in bed all week, but so there were a few people that picked up on that. And they were linking me little CCU chains they'd done, which was really nice to see that it's taking off and becoming really commonplace. There was one lady, I can't remember her name, I'd have to find it again, but she literally was stating that she'd spent $1,000, but her entire fleet was worth like $3,400. And I was like, wow, that's actually quite cool. When I hear things like that, it makes me very happy.
But that really does, like when people give those stories, that really does just ram home what we've been saying for ages about CCU chains.
Yeah.
You can buy a very cheap ship, and you can CCU it up to a larger ship that you want and save 50% or a third of the price of what their CIG are asking. Or you can just, if you've got the money and the cash flow, you can just splurge and do it. First time chatter, Stop and Sniffer in Twitch, I know he's usually on our YouTube, says, at least I think that's the same one who's on our YouTube. I'm just checking it because it's the same person, you know.
Yeah.
But they say people collect trading cards, comic books, special edition DVD sets, etc. And the ships are no different. But different, I suppose the only difference is the ships are digital as opposed to physical. But I know people who collect comics, they'll spend a mint on a new comic or that collector's edition comic and never read it. It'll be in its cellophane wrapper and away, and God forbid you open that cellophane wrapper and read their comic.
So that's a different discussion though, because my mum's really into antiques, as an example. There is never going to be an antique Perseus. Like, it's just not a thing. Right? And eventually when they turn that game off and it goes away, you've got nothing.
They're gone.
And that's the difference between virtual and that. If they had a way that you could cold store, and what I mean by cold store is if I could take the Perseus offline and put it on a USB stick and put it under my bed, and 100 years from now someone pulls it out and they have that Perseus, that ups the value quite a bit for me. But there's no way to do that. If there was a way to somehow take what we've brought and turn it into a physical item, that would be sick. But there is no way to do that.
Have a 3D print log file or whatever it is you use to be able to print a copy of a ship. But at the moment that's the big issue with the digital ships, isn't it? They're digital. And
there's probably a market there, Algared, down the line for you know when you get your ship and you've covered it in decals and you've got the skin all out and Algared's logo on it and all that, and then someone 3D prints and it's like color painted and all that with your. There'd be a market
with
for
your
that,
logos and all the other stuff. That'd be pretty cool, but yeah. So I think we've answered the Shempasta question on the Perseus. So the next question is...
Was it Shem? Was it? Thanks, Shem.
It was Shempasta. Space Tech says, what is the very first thing you buy in-game after a wipe?
Definitely components for me. I don't know about you boys.
Water and food.
No, that's boring.
Medical, the paramedic gun, ammo for it, and more med pens.
And
that's how my game goes. I get shot a lot.
I fly around and get thirsty and hungry.
It's different for me. When I rock up, people run away. It's like they're scared of me. But anyway, they just see the
maybe they've just seen you try to land.
Like I don't try, I land. That's the difference. You can ask Algared. I look like a maniac, but I land very well, and it scares people. Like people think we're going to crash, and then I just go, and they're like, "What?"
Yeah, I've seen others when he's been flying his caterpillar or reclaimer and just flies like a bat out of hell. Crash! We're going to crash! Boom.
Yeah.
People who do it all the time just get really good at it.
Yeah.
When I was at one point when I was flying the 890 a heap, I could actually dock it to the pylon with ease. Since the patches, I can't do that. I haven't been able to do. I don't think I've done it very well since in 317 on. But it was early in 317 I could do it, but later in I just couldn't. I just lost the knack. But people who do it all the time, they just bang, and they can do it quick and fast, and it's just practice.
Actually, I almost wanted.
So.
Just checking this poll real quick. Give me a sec. I'm going to do it right now. I just had an idea, and this might be a terrible idea, and I'm sure we can do a poll on this, and you guys can tell me how bad of an idea it is. So, 79% of people on YouTube said yes. I missed it on Twitch, but I know Twitch was on yes as well. So, yeah, 89 poll vote, and yeah, 80% of people roughly wouldn't mind a reset, which is interesting. I don't know how that works, though, because it says 79% yes, 20% no. So 1% of people said nothing. Like
1%
there was
of people
there was no response for nothing. I don't get it. Anyway, right.
That's the what is it? The variation, the percentage of variation. I don't know.
Yeah.
I suppose. Yeah, the margin of error. I suppose it comes down to the soft wipe helps get rid of all the rubbish. So if you do a soft wipe, you're also getting rid of all the rubbish that's lying around. So that actually helps clean up the systems and the servers as well. So I imagine that's half of what people are thinking about. At least that's what I would be thinking about.
Okay, both you boys are frozen on my end.
We are.
I'm going to blame you for that.
All right, they're moving again. Good.
Yep.
Must have been some congestion.
Don't know why.
I've had a lot of congestion this week. I know all about congestion. Delightful. Right. Next question. You've got no idea. I've had the worst week. You do not. You do not want this year's flu. If you haven't had your flu shot, go out and get it one. That's all I can say. Well, I kicked mine off. I went and got my flu shot, and then I got really sick. It's like it gave me the flu. It was shockingly bad. And it was one of the, as I said, if you didn't hear the story at the start of the stream, I literally got, so that's, I have a literal big scar on my head. I actually got really, I went and got a flu shot on Monday. And then literally by that evening, I was like, it was like I was drunk. I couldn't even say, hey G, to turn the lights off and on, because I used Google to turn my lights off and on. And so I couldn't turn the lights on. So I got up, went to the bathroom, came back. My cat was on the bed, so I was trying to avoid my cat. And I couldn't walk properly. It was almost like I was drunk. And I just, like, full on, like, was trying to keep my balance, and then ended up going forward and just head planted straight into the air conditioner. The air conditioner beat me. And then I, literally kind of rolled back up into bed, and I didn't even realize I had a cut on my head until like 24 hours later. But yeah, it was not pleasant.
Yep.
Yeah. I've had a week.
Anyway, Halfsack has a question.
Yep.
It's when will ISC drop? And the answer is when it drops.
Yeah, precisely when it means to, I believe is the term.
Yeah, that's right. It's,
Like a wizard.
It's like waiting for Inforunners this morning. You know,
Yeah.
you're waiting. When are Inforunners starting? When we start.
Well, you two boys
Mhm.
knew something was up, though, didn't you? Because I hadn't done an image for that. I honestly thought
You
it was
hadn't done
I honestly thought today was Thursday, and
Yeah.
I just woke up at like about 6:15. I thought, oh yeah, I should get up and get my body clock ready for tomorrow. Go to the toilet, come back. I thought, all right, I'll turn the computer on, and I'll go make a cup of tea. And I go, what? And then I put my mouse over the thing, and it goes Friday, and I went, Friday? Oh shit! And then I looked at Discord, and both these boys are sitting there. I loaded up Discord, messages out the ass. I was like, oh shit! And off to the races we went.
Usually when Execute's running a bit late, I'll give him a call on the phone and say, hey mate, how's it going? And you know, and his phone was off, so that started to make me go, okay. But you know, it happens, and I did know that he'd been a bit crook during the week, so
yeah, I sent out a photo of my forehead.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
All right.
After he realised it had been done, so
I did check no ISC yet, but I'm sure you guys in chat will let us know as you usually do anyway. So yeah, when that drops, thanks for letting me know. All right, next question, Aaron, please.
Next question is from Outlaw Night Zero. What are your thoughts on other applications of the upcoming tractor beams?
So I'm going to be honest with you here. I think as a profession starter ship, I think that the SRV is going to be a bit of a sleeper. I think that thing, you know how we've talked about scalability, Algared, quite a bit. Like, you know, how a Vulture doesn't scale with a Reclaimer. I actually think the SRV is going to be one of those ones that does. Because even yourself, Badgers, has said stuff like this, haven't you? Where like it's got uses beyond its purview. I know you were talking about you could use one as a tank Reclaimer in one of the, was it you or SA that brought that up in one of those episodes we did?
Yeah, I think SA mentioned that you could use them to ferry damaged tanks back to back into orbit if that's where your repair facilities are.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that really started to change my mind on how that thing could be used. I just hadn't thought of it. Well, again, that's what it takes. It takes someone else to have a different perspective, and it totally changes your mind on things. So you have to be open to your mind being changed. And the more I think about that ship, like they've even talked about how, like, because of the way it works, it's like a bubble. And if I have a bubble and Algared comes along with his SRV and he connects to my bubble, it makes the bubble bigger.
And stronger.
So essentially, they do scale with each other. So even if they made a big, like, there's almost no need to make a bigger one. What I mean by that is, so they made an SRV that was twice the size, right? Does that mean its bubble's twice the size? But if I come along with my small SRV, it still makes the original bubble. Do you know what I mean? Like, if it's a bubble and it just gets bigger, there's no real benefit to a bigger one.
Yep. And the advantage of the tug is that they can actually help larger ships get into orbit, which means, if you've got ships that really struggle, they can help. If you've got a ship that's falling down into a gravity well, and they can take, a bit like the old Star Trek, ships going down, hit it with a tractor beam, pull it back up. Those standard applications.
It's going to come down to how big that tractor beam is. Like, if that, and I don't know how big it is, right? Because I haven't gone and looked at the stats in a while, and you're more the stats guy than I am. But if, say, that was like akin to a capital tractor beam on a ship that size, that's massively huge benefit. Kind of like with the, akin to the Terra panel, stuff like that. When you put a bigger thing on a ship than it should be, but if the whole ship is built around that, and that's all it does, that'll be huge. That'll be massive. It kicks off a few professions too for me, because to me that's towing, right? So that's essentially the beginning of repair as well. You can now tow people back to a station to get repair. You can tow people to a starfarer, to get refueled. There's a whole. I think it's a real sleeper, and it's going to change a lot of the shit. Badgers, you're sitting there dopey. Well, what's your take? I'm just going to drop what I'm saying because he's not saying anything.
No, I am. So you're entirely right in what you say about having multiple SRVs rather than a larger one. There are some very large tugs out there, but they are few and far between. And what you tend to find is, you'll get a few tugs will deal with a much larger ship, and actually 2 or 3 of them working in concert is a lot more effective than having 1 or 2 large ones, because you can pull in multiple directions, you can arrest the vessel's momentum, you can apply kind of a turning moment in all sorts of clever ways to get ships out, and it doesn't need to be a really big towing vessel in order to do that. And actually having a really large towing vessel on a really small tow actually is problematic. Because it's like a gorilla trying to move a Lego model. It's just not going to end well. You've got something that's incredibly fragile and something that's incredibly powerful
in real life,
and it's just a matter of degrees. Yeah.
In real life, does that? So I'm just thinking based on what you've just said there. Do tugs have a way bigger engine than they should to be able to push bigger ships? So
tugs tend to have very specialized forms of propulsion. So you think of a normal ship and you think of the screws at the back, right? You think of propellers, screws. The most effective tugs don't have that. They have something called a Voith Schneider or Azipod, and they're basically two. They're versions of the same thing, and it's 2 engines that you deploy vertically through the hull, and they can push almost in a complete 360, and they will oppose each other. So you can have them effectively working against each other. You can have one pushing out to starboard, one pushing out to port. And there are specific uses for each of them, like adding stability to the vessel, just providing tension. But yeah, they are, like modern tugs now, are incredibly maneuverable. And that's why sometimes you'll see them with a vessel going sideways at incredible speed. It's that propulsion, because although the vessel's going sideways, the propulsion below it is working such that it will quite happily do that.
So if you translate that over to the SRV, that you'd expect something similar to that, yeah?
Yeah, low top speed, incredible maneuverability, but a lot of power that can be applied through that maneuverability as well.
What did you call that again in the ships? What was it called? Voiden, Fleiken?
So one of the
he swore that's what
is a Voith Schneider.
When he said
don't ask me to spell it.
I thought of Wolfenstein, and so I instantly thought of those like massive electric coils that come up, and then lightning striking the tugboat, and it all coming to life like Frankenstein. That's what I thought of when you said that. Yeah.
Voith Schneider, they are really weird looking things. They're basically, it's a circle as a drum, so it's like a vertically circular unit. but what it's made up of loads of different, almost they look like rudders. And what it does is they change position depending on where they are as they rotate. So it creates thrust in a certain direction, or in an opposing direction, but it does it instantaneously. It doesn't need to, like, you imagine it's like the whole Titanic thing. You see them try to apply pressure and they close all the breaches, and then they engage the reversing engine, and you see everything slow, stop, and then start going the other way. With tugs, they don't have to do it. They can go from applying full power ahead to full power astern just by the flick of a switch, and nothing stops rotating. These panels that flick out and flick in depending on where they are just change, and it makes the tugs incredibly responsive. And it means you can put them in some really small spaces as well. You can imagine getting a ship into a dock. As it goes through the dock entrance, these tugs have got to squeeze up really tight alongside. So, and if they're not maneuverable, you could crush them quite easily.
So does that translate to bigger power plants for you in SRV, or like more powerful engines? How do you think that, would you expect to see that on the SRV?
Tugs, so if it works like real world tugs, they'll generate an awful lot of power but have a low top speed. So think, trucks. They generate an awful lot of torque but don't necessarily zip around at 150 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Tugs are exactly the same.
And I would expect to see that the SRV is similar to that. It's got that real high engine power to be able to tug or pull, however they want to work that out. But it's interesting because it makes me think the 315P with its size 3 utility mount with a tractor beam. People have often said, "Oh, well, we'll use it as a tug," but won't be able to use it as a tug because it's not the engine. I was imagining trying to use the bigger tractor beam on the 315P to help pull a ship in distress or help it get into orbit. But if it's got the weak engine, it's not going to be able to do that. It's going to find itself in the same predicament. And so it's great for picking up objects and pulling them in, but it's not great for trying to do that same role that a tug does. So it really does put the tug in a unique, valued position, which as we were saying, will scale well with the other ships. So
yes, yeah, exactly that. And there's a couple of people in chat, like Stop and Sniffers mentioning that yachts have it. Deb Ringer's saying about how large cruise ships are now using that to make it easier to get them alongside. And they're entirely right. And I think that's something that CIG could work on in the future, is that there are, like, azipods are different to voice schneiders, are different to things like bow thrusters. So when the question is, well, what use is a second tug type vehicle? What's the point in an SRV competitor? That could be it. Is, the ability to deal with larger vessels, larger ships easier. But if you're just shifting around a damaged Connie, for example, small applications of power are going to affect it much greater, and you're just not going to have that fine control that the SRV might have.
But can't you just use multiple SRV? Because they've actually stated that in the SRV Q&A type stuff, or the concept. You could, if you've got an Idris, you can just throw multiple SRVs at it, and they can move an Idris. I think it said 3 or 4 from memory. Yeah.
Absolutely, and this is what we're saying, is that, when they say, well, why would you bring out an SRV competitor? Well, you could bring something out that you don't need anywhere near as many of to do capitals. But the flip side is the smaller fine control that the SRV on its own allows you is just not there for a much larger version, because it doesn't have that fine control, because it's not built to move smaller vessels around. It's built to deal with capitals and almost exclusively.
Yeah, I can see it going. I still lean back to what I originally said. I think you can do it in a way that you don't, like, it kind of does make it redundant. It comes down to how they choose to do it. So, for example, if you had the original person that created the bubble, they control the bubble, and anyone else that just connects to the bubble, they're just making the bubble larger. So the control would still all remain with the same person. That's not very realistic, honestly, because it doesn't work that way. But gamification.
Mhm.
But as you said, the fine control, you'd obviously have more control that way. But again, if they did it the way I said, the control would be exactly the same. So there'd be no different. It really comes down to what they want to do at the end of the day.
Sorry, dead ringer. Sorry, Algared, you've been trying to get him for a while, haven't we?
Just thinking of the application, like from real world, you can easily see that big tug, just one tug pulling a thing, it just literally tows it. You're getting the movement variations in. You get two small ones. You get one at the back, one at the front, and they both apply pressure on opposite sides. And the turn you're going to get on those vessels is or whatever they're doing is going to be significant. So you can see that application, can see why those small ships will work, but how that'll translate into Star Citizen, that's a different story. And at the moment we can speculate and guess, but I'd like to hope they kind of pick up those ideas and move with them. But yeah, I can see the tug being a very useful ship.
Absolutely that. And I've just got a chat to Devringer243 in chat. He's just said, find someone who looks at you the way X looks at his kitty.
She's been very clingy this week because she knows I've been ill, but
because she knows you're ill.
Yeah, she wants a pat, so she's just sitting there meowing her ass off. So I've got to shut her up, otherwise you're gonna hear her.
What you need to do, mate, is put like little saddlebags on her with a shopping list and the money in it, and just send her off to the grocery store, and then she can come back with it. She
never leaves the house. Look how fat this thing is. Look, you're huge, aren't you? Look at it. She's a heifer.
Do her some exercise. But mind you, I'm not in a position of strength on that.
No, she was.
We'll call her Albert from now on.
She was D-sexed, so she's like a female Garfield. When they're D-sexed, they just get fat. That's just how it is, especially in the females. So yeah.
Cat is also exactly the right colour for you to Simba the hell out of that. You need to just hold her up, and everyone can give it the old "Hada honey."
She's like people call her like a fat Garfield, but she's very loving, very clingy. And then her brother's the complete opposite. So yeah.
And we'll go to another question.
Yep. If I'm waving, by the way, and I don't say a name, it's because I'm just someone's talking, but I'm waving to someone saying hello or something like that. So apologies if I don't say a name, but yeah.
Destro has a question. With the resizing of everything over the last couple of years, do you think the 400i will fit through a small jump point? I feel like the 400 was designed to be one of the better ships that can.
So the largest, like, again, we probably need to do an episode on this, just like I was saying before. I had another idea for an episode, but we need to do. Let's talk about pad sizes. That would literally be the episode, because we don't have an official response, but it would be really nice if they came out and did. But we do now have from the code the pad sizes. There are now 6 of them. And I'm moving away from saying things like small, tiny, medium, large capital and things like that, because they now use this measurement, which is just S1 through to S6. And I think that's the way to go, because we've had so many years of the smalls and mediums and that there's this overlap now that makes it confusing.
Yeah. And the other thing with jump points, as we've discussed in the past, is it when we're talking large, medium, small, and I know that's going away from what you're saying, but we've speculated in the past that it was to do with the rating was to do with the stability of the jump point. So if it's a stability of a jump point, then it changes the whole size issue as well.
That's one of the things we talked about, but I honestly still think it's based, like, this is before metrics happened, right? But at the time, the last thing we really ever heard about it was that the Freelancer was the smallest ship that could go through a small jump point, right? So if that's the case,
the largest ship would go for a small jump point.
Yeah, I said it backwards, but you got what I mean. So long story short, that now means that would be the Legionnaire, because the Legionnaire is the largest ship that can fit on that jump point, right? So to answer his question, no, the 400i does not fit through a small jump point. That would knock it up to the medium size. And then when you go to a large jump point, the reason why there's only a large is once you get to that size of ship, there's really no reason, because it would mean they'd have to make a 4th set of routes. So it's a waste of time. So they're just kind of essentially taken large and capital and combine them together. And they're already at a disadvantage at that size already. So they've essentially just took capital and large and joined them together. But yeah, if you kind of work it through, I still think it's going to be to the metrics of pads. It makes the most sense. And that's if it's still a thing, or it may or may not have changed. But like, as you've seen with things we've said before, look at Death of the Spaceman. They didn't touch that thing for 10 years, and then they did an update, and it barely even changed. So, they may drop an update on wormholes and jump points down the line, and it may have changed, it may not have, but we just keep go on by what they last said, and based on what they last said, that larger ship is now the Legionnaire. So anything above that, and again, I probably can bring it up on screen if you give me a hot minute. This is going to look
just while you do that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ace Hambone with a $10 super chat in YouTube. Hello, gents. Thanks for the streams. Ace, you're very welcome. And thank you very much for the super chat. We really appreciate it.
We do indeed. Never demanded, never expected, always appreciated, always humbling.
All right, so this is going to look so ad hoc because the only place I was able to find it was a Reddit post. Sorry, Algared and me. There's no way to put this really nicely, but the one you really look,
Put it over Badgers. That's all.
Put it over my face because I don't want to be seen on the same screen as a fucking Reddit post.
I'll put it under your face. I'll just flick it down. What you're actually trying to look at is you're trying to look at that post at the bottom anyway, right? So there you go. You can see size. So a snub or tiny is an S1. A small. See how it gets confusing? If you just read the ones to the left and right, snub, tiny, smalls, extra small, medium, small, large, medium. Because they had internal and external sizes that were different, and it's made the whole thing confusing. Because a developer might say medium, but does he mean medium internally or externally? So I'm moving towards now saying S1 or S6 and stuff like that. So if you realistically now look at this, now I'm probably going to butcher this.
If you look at the pad size measurement at the end, that's
you're generally looking at the Y is the length. So I believe it is an S2 is a free Algared. I think it's 28 meters in the freelancer, isn't it, from memory? So I think it's an S.
I would have to look that up.
Yeah. So an S2, or what was previously to most people a small, right? And that makes sense. So yeah. So that would be, only the first S1 and S2 go through that. Then you've literally just got S3 that's on medium on its own, and then unless they change it and it's literally S1 and S2, S2 and S4, and then S5 and S6, that makes a little sense to me too. So it depends where they really want to drop it at the end of the day. But it's just been so long since this was talked about. Oh, I just realized that's actually...
That's the base thing we've got in terms of the size of that, and that's really all we can go on. That's stuff from the code. We use that. It makes sense. So going away from the old size, small, medium, large, capital, makes sense because it is so confusing. The number of ships that have been in, and do we mean extra small? What's an extra small pad? What's a So and in a sense that also goes back to, I can remember way back when I started 2014, everything was size 1 to size 9. Everything.
Hey, Grim,
so weapons were size 1 to size 9. Engines, components were size 1 to 9. The Constellation Phoenix was originally said to have a size 9 capital port for a weapon, and they said, well, the size 9 weapon ports are actually the self-defense platforms, and so because it's got a self-defense platform, it's got the size 9 thing. That's how they rationalised that away. But the numbers were all over the place. The which was the ship they said? I think they said the Phoenix had size 7 or 8 engines or something like that at one point. And they said, no, it actually doesn't, because that would have been capital ship engine.
The easy response to this, right, is they will do what is ever best for gameplay balance, right? And when you've done it, when everything's done to metrics becomes a very standard thing in development. I just was so surprised it took CIG so long to get the metric thing running. And I can't remember who the gentleman was, but there was a gentleman at CIG that really started the metrics ball rolling. Because metrics is literally just essentially like slots or anything. So everything lines up And you see it in
But-
almost every game in existence because it just makes things link together and work more smoothly. And I'm just really surprised because it stops things being bespoke and stuff like that. So yeah.
I think part of a reason why it took so long is they did the ships originally, man, chucked everything in, got it all going, and then there's a lot of stuff out there, and it felt like they were talking with who was it talking last week? CIG guy, and he said, I've been working on this for ages, but there's so much we've got to go through to actually get it.
Yeah.
Now apply it to every ship. It just takes time, and so.
Elliot, I think you're talking about. Was it Elliot? Is it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it was Elliot last week.
4 years he was working on that thing. Did you say, have you already done that super chat, or is it just me?
We have.
All right, cool. And hello, Grim. I hope you're well. He just says hello to everyone.
Great to see you, Grim. Okay, Ben Frick.
Yep.
How excited are you three for the ability to now remove weapons and components announced for 319 with tractor beams?
That to me is, when I read that, that's component salvage. That's what that is. That does not surprise me at all. Because that's component salvage, and then munching, and then you kind of got all of salvage done, which is kind of exciting. Yeah, if someone came out to me a while ago and said we'll be getting salvage before the end of mining, I kind of would have thought, yeah, whatever, because they seem to love mining. But yeah, it looks like we're going to get salvage as the first fully, potentially, I shouldn't say potentially, fully complete profession.
Well, in many ways, mining is like space mine. You know, mining in space is complete. We don't have land mining as fleshed out.
We don't have any of it. That's my point. We don't have any of it.
Yeah, for land mining, but the space mining is kind of done. But what we don't have is being able to refine both materials into the higher grade stuff. Salvage makes sense to go on. I would love to see more of that land mining. I'd love to see that land survey stuff and be able to find those deep nodes and be able to access them. But that's...
Well, if you actually kind of think it through, there's a lot more complication to... like I said in the Vulture video when we did that Algared, like when you find salvage, you're done, right?
Yeah.
And someone's kind of mentioning similar things in chat right now. There are no veins. They haven't done the layout for resources to actually appear where they should, but they can do that, and that's the thing. And I think that's why we're going to see the end of salvage before the end of mining. There's a lot more complexity to mining than most people realize, and I think that's why that's
so
down the line. What about you, Badgers?
And what we find with
I don't think salvage will be complete because we won't have siphoning, which I understand is part of that. So removing
the fuels
and that. Yeah,
that's true.
So I don't think we'll be quite there.
Yeah, no,
but yeah, right. I mean, the component salvage, and then being able to take weapons off the exterior, and then hopefully being able to go into ships once we've got physicalized components and that, and being able to cut stuff out from inside of the ships as well.
You'd have to imagine though that siphoning's not too complicated, yeah. Like I'm running it through in my head, and it's just a digital. It's essentially a cargo transfer, but you're transferring a liquid.
Yeah, I have a feeling they're going to make it a little bit more complicated than that, just because CIG.
Obviously,
and
But even say tier 0 though, you could literally just go, jerry can, hose, whatever. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. You are right.
Kind of like a rigger deployable to the side of the ship.
Well, it's probably like it's almost like tier 2 component removal. It's in the line of well, you're stripping down ship, aren't you? So you've got to take everything out of it. Yeah.
ISC is out apparently. We are being told in chat.
All right, we'll have a look at that in a moment.
So, but yeah,
I could see the siphoning being part of component removal, as you were saying. I think what we see with salvage at the moment is it picks up, or mining at the moment, is basically the salvage aspect. It's the go up to a thing that's there, mine it down, go up to a thing that's there, salvage it. But the full depth of mining isn't there. And I think that's why, as you're saying, salvage will probably, that base level of salvage, that stripper ship, and that will come first. Once we get the component access, that's the next step before we get to munching, because for CIG have always said you've got to strip a ship, you know, take the stuff out of a ship before you can munch it, otherwise you cause damage to your ship. So, yeah. All right, ISC.
Okay. Tractor Factor. Oh my god, his names are terrible. What are you going with? Tractor Reactor? I don't know. Tractor Factor. I don't know. Whatever.
And don't forget to put the noise suppression on for the video.
Yes, I gotta do that as
Or
well.
thing, or take it off, or whatever you have to do.
Yep. Flicking you boys over. That should flick you over. Getting rid of the noise for stream. If you can hear my air conditioner, tell me, and I'll turn it off, because I am roasting because I'm unwell. But yeah, let me know and I'll turn it off if you can hear it. And here we go.
Tractor beams have been a staple of science fiction for almost 100 years. They go all the way back to the work of Amazing Stories magazine and E.E. Smith's classic Spacehounds of IPC, the serials of 1931. They're a metaphor for all of science fiction in that they look to extend our reach beyond what's physical and bring that which we can only imagine closer and within our grasp. And while tractor beam gameplay already has a presence in the persistent universe, work is currently underway bringing its full potential into the hands and spacecraft of the Stanton system, with the next step forward happening in the upcoming Alpha 319.
Oh, I hear voices. Can't see homies. Okay. Oh shit! I didn't flick it over. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. Sorry. Apologies. 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 Right. Alright. I'll cut it back to here. Yes, I failed.
19.
Just before.
Alright, there you go.
Doesn't look good.
I'm sick. Give me a break.
The current state of the tractor beam is already in a really fun and fitting state. Especially when the tractor beam was released, people got really creative with stacking boxes, creating obstacles for each other, or coming up with very interesting ideas of systemic multiplayer action, like who can destroy the ship and steal as many boxes, like team versus team situation. Or you could even use the grabbed objects as harm, so snap them on someone else's person head and then make them the minimum unconscious. So tractor beams in live game currently are able to move cargo crates onto your cargo grid. So it's fitting the concept of you having a handgun that can do the box interactions, and there's still the grapple mechanic that you can use. So you can pull yourself towards ships or towards bigger objects, heavier objects, to traverse a bit easier in zero-G. The limitations are that it is...
You can definitely see jet skis in the future somewhere there. Anyway. You know, we're behind the boat Algared and they do the flips and stuff.
Yep.
very it cannot interact with any items yet. It's just there for boxes, for unconscious bodies or dead bodies.
Do you intend for it to be for unconscious bodies?
I think it's intended to be for unconscious bodies, yes.
Did he just sadistically smile there like an evil villain? Anyway.
Yeah.
So where do we want to take tractor beams? We would like to introduce more variances to the FBS tractor beam that you're seeing. So right now you only have the multi-tool that has the tractor beam attachment. So we would like to have a dedicated tool, maybe even upgraded version to the tractor beam attachment. So you might have heavier lifting tractor beam attachment for the multi-tool. So we would really like to dive into more meaningful itemization for the tractor beam, and basically have it believable that you have a big tractor beam to move like very heavy and very big objects, rather than you just have your tiny handgun that you move like like 36 square cubic meter boxes around or something like that. There's also the tractor beam in regards to the salvage gameplay. So you have on the salvage ships, like the Reclaimer and the Vulture, you have the functionality to pull in debris. And then in the future, once the salvage feature is progressing, you will be able to munch those pieces and create like additional resources out of that. For vehicle tractor beams, there are basically two things that we would like to see. There's the concept of remote turrets. So something that its full purpose is to basically help the systems that the ship itself has. For example, on the Starfarer, a tractor beam that is able to bring in the mining pods from the prospector, or detach the fuel pods from the fuel pod socket, so you could exchange them, or for example for the hull variances, that you have a remote tractor beam that is able to detach the cargo boxes from the basically cargo holding plates on the hull series ships. And then there's additionally the concept of the not remote tractor beam, but the fully like ship driven tractor beam, if so to say, which is more the active one. So best example there is the SRV, for example, that has its full purpose to be to tow ships. So you basically have a stranded ship that you attach to and then move around. But what we also want to have there is some
Really quick, I don't know if anyone really I'm sure I'm not the only one thinking this, but the SRV's done, the whole C's done. Did anyone else notice that? Like, they're kind of really done.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Makes me wonder what they're holding. It's got to be more cargo refactor, surely, yeah?
I think it'd have to be cargo refactor, and possibly even the tractor beams working properly.
Yeah, true. Badgers, would you kind of agree with that one?
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah, okay.
Like I said, I did wonder if that was the sea that we'd seen, and then when you saw them moving stuff onto it, I was like, yep, that's the sea.
Yeah, interesting.
ships might have an indirect remote turret, or indirect remote version of a tractor beam, which is more the, let's say, aggressive version. So it's more in combat scenario. You have a situation that someone tries to flee, and you just use the tractor beam to hold that person in place, so that that person cannot escape, and you can actually pull it in to grab your bounty. An additional feature that we also see in the future is combining the beams. So you
Actually, that brings up a really good thing. Why wouldn't they be using tractor beams as elevators? Like, why would you have a physical elevator when you could just tractor beam yourself up into a ship?
Yep.
I don't know. That's just kind of ruin elevators for me. But anyway, especially with all the bugs we get with them. But anyway,
are able to, like, not only one player, once it attaches to a box, that only that player is able to move the box, but like have maybe people targeting the same box and fighting over the box, or even like the body, and then being able to move that around. Maybe even the FPS devices are so big that it is like you at least could be able to grab a small Aurora or Nox or something small. So it's like, it makes sense that you are able to grab that tiny vehicle or tiny ship.
I don't know if anyone's seen the Shazam trailer. That's literally like throwing a car. That's literally turn you into a superhero. You just grab a ship and throw it at another ship. Like in what's in that Picard episode where he just threw a ship at another ship.
Yep. My problem with that was the fact that the ship should have just pulled him off the ground and smashed him into a tree.
I think you've got to look at it sci-fi based.
I know they're doing this kind of having fun with it, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's somehow removing the gravity from around the ship, so it's got no force to do that, Algared. You got to understand how the tractor beam would work. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. But then again, a tractor beam doesn't make sense either. So yeah.
With the future being somewhere out there, let's actually talk about what we have in plan for 319. We are actually working on the entire tractor beam thing in regards to the SRV. But one thing that we noticed while working on it, that we actually have one thing that we could split out and actually bring to you a bit earlier. than anticipated. And this feature is basically item stripping. So you detach items from certain ports, or you or more use in like riddles that are done by the level design teams.
Once the vehicle is soft dev or unlocked, you're going to be able to, with a tractor beam, find all the good guns and modules like shield generators or life supports or whatever, detach them, put them on your ship, or put them in your cargo hold and sell them later or use them.
So you will use your multi-tool, the very buffed version of the multi-tool, to be detaching those weapons where there is a new weight limit that the multi-tool can now exceed. There's a new volume that the multi-tool can now exceed to allow you to detach at least like...
Did anyone notice that yellow thing, like it was trying to snap to things? So there's something there for placing
the majority of the items.
Too.
There might be items hidden behind
Well, that's what I was just doing.
like
Yeah.
walls that for sure you will not be able to detach from their socket, but all the items that are visible, and especially the internal components that are size 0, size 1 and size 2, you will be able to detach from their socket. And if you have a spare, for example, sitting around next to you, you can even exchange them. If you have a shield generator and you notice for the situation that I'm right now in, it's not good enough, so you can take out your multi-tool, grab it, pull it out of the socket, and grab the other one that you have, which might be suiting for the situation better, and then just pop it in, and voila, you just changed your shield generator on the fly. For weapons, since they're on the outside...
That gives us engineering gameplay, pretty much. The ability to actually swap out components.
Yeah, a little bit on the fly. I'm noticing, look at all these things where it says cannot be attached to as well. So there's definitely some new HUD elements that have come in as well.
Yep.
We allow you to detach any weapon that matches the metrics. So I think right now the biggest that you can pop out of the socket are size 5 or size 6. Depends a bit on the shape, because we have different masses and different volumes for the different shapes of the different types that we have. So it's a bit dependent there, but what is important to us on the tractor beam are synergies. And what synergies we have is, or we will have with this feature, a way to restock yourself. Like not restocking with physical ammunition, like you have from your ballistic cannons, but at least from missiles.
You can potentially find a ship that's soft dev or like fully destroyed that has the same type of missile, and you can grab those missiles attached to your own ship and use them in the future fight.
In a multi-crew scenario, you can have a friend sitting around with their Cutlass Black full of missiles, and you just take it out of their backside and refill your ship.
With Pyro, obviously, it would be much more interesting because there's like a more limited shop supplies and all of that. But even right now, it's like a pretty valuable option because a lot of those components are actually pretty expensive.
What we also...
So that's your very first version of resupply. Badgers, do you see that kind of being a thing with... Like, I'm trying to think of resupplying in the future, and the only thing I can come back to is like a drone. Like there's no way for me to get away from very hands-on resupply. You there, Badgers, or are you muted?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Okay,
I think it's a very short step from there to having like items in boxes, and you just lift it out of the box, and you know, like crates and whatever else that you actually buy purely for that purpose. But yeah, it seems to be that sort of thing.
Yeah. So it's still going to kind of always be very hands-on, whether it's with a machine or...
Yeah, I think like cargo loading, you're
like,
gonna...
Yeah, okay.
You can have the option for them to do it, for the station to do it, and there'll be a time penalty involved in that, or you do it yourself, and it's as quickly as you can do it.
Interesting. Okay.
What will allow you to do is like strip the items off alive ships, but to prevent other players from randomly stealing you the items, we will lock that behind a certain functionality. So right now the discussion is that we will have an unlock key binding that you press, and then you basically allow the items to be detached from their socket. So you press the button, and then anyone in your ship or anyone around the ship can then detach the items, either use them on a different ship on the same ship again or sell them for profit.
During the go no go, there was like a comment that it is a potential exploit if the parts are too expensive. The exploit is that you can spawn your own ship, claim it, and then sell the parts of it, and then reclaim it, and then cannot do this loop. It will be counted as a crime right now, I think, but it's like, up to debate. So that's something that's being discussed right now.
There's also the synergy with, which ties in very nicely with the mining update that we have been talking about already last time, which is like you can exchange the mining head on the fly. Not only the mining head you will be able to detach and attach, but also the sub-items attached to the mining head. So if you have, for example, a brand module that just depletes.
Yeah, so not just engineering, Algared repair too, in a way.
Yep. Yeah, I was just looking at that, and my comment was that's good. Just that ability to do that on the fly.
You can now see rooms like the Carrick repair room. How that's going to work? You're going to pick up a component, walk through the ship, put it down on the bench, repair it, take out the subcomponents, fix all that shit, and then take it back. Yeah, it's all starting to flush out now. All right.
It, and you have a spare one with you, and just grab your tractor beam, pull it out of the cargo hold, and attach it again to the mining head. So you restocked your brand module, for example. Not only we have the synergy now for the mining, but also for refueling. So if you have a Starfarer that has fuel pods and they are empty, and you just stumbled over an NPC or another player that has a fully filled Starfarer, you either negotiate to buy one of their fuel pods to get it over and attach it to your ship, or you find another way to actually get the fuel pod with the fuel inside and attach it to your Starfarer, and voila, you have a Starfarer that is now able to refuel other players without you paying any money for the fuel that maybe you paid a bit of money for it to be attached to your ship.
We also have some quality of life stuff. So if you have a gun and you move your mouse left, right, the gun will rotate this way always. Before, rotating was very tricky. Now it's a bit more intuitive, at least from my perspective.
Because we also did salvage with the same concept as we did mining with the sub-items and so on. Yes, you will also be able to detach the sub-items on the salvage head or the salvage head in the future itself, and exchange the modules as you like and as needed. So this is the next step we will take with the tractor beam for 3.19, and there are more to come. What I'm personally looking forward to the most is how it actually ties in with all the other systems, and I think that is also the most joy that I already get with this release for 3.19, which is how it already interacts with the refueling that we did, with the mining update, because there we talked about how important it is now that the items are fitting the rocks.
You're going to find that happens more and more too. There's more and more overlap, and that is exciting, because when they all start interacting to each other, it just creates more depth, doesn't it? So yeah.
And now it is even in our QATR or in our internal play sessions, we now have a fully stacked Cutlass Black with all the mining heads there, and we just swap them out regularly, and it's really fun. It feels like this is how it's supposed to be, and it's not anymore like this weird menu gameplay. It's real, it's physical. You have your tractor beam in your hand, you have the item lying in front of you, you pull out the item from the socket and you attach the new one. So I'm really looking forward to what you will come up with. So right now we are not trying to limit it too much. We might reconsider that once we see you bringing havoc to our game. But for now, yeah, once 3.19 is out there, be creative, destroy the world, whatever.
That is so going to be a thing. People that just camp a bunker like that and rip people one tire off so they can't get back to their ship. Then goes to their ship. I can see that a mile away.
Going to Hurston and having your vehicle stripped by the bandits that live in the outskirts because they're revolutionary and woo girls. And
that's not how you spell freedom fighters, Algared.
It's definitely it's definitely taken piracy to another level though too. You get I was thinking with the soft death, now you've got even more, like, not just a reason to go give me your cargo. It's like, I'll just strip your ship bare if you don't play ball with me. So that like, we really need scanning now. In my book, I just keep coming back to that every time. Also, yeah.
So what did we learn this week? Well, we learned that tractor beams will add additional functionality to the salvage gameplay that came online in Alpha 3.18, as well as new mining improvements arriving in 3.19. That its scope will continue to expand into better cargo and vehicle options in the releases beyond that. And that now is definitely the winter of our Torsten content. Because he's done like 3 episodes in 5 weeks. 4 if you count SCL. I owe that guy a beer. 2 for the bad Shakespeare pun I just did. And remember, for continuing updates on the post-launch status of Alpha 3.18, keep an eye on the robertspaceindustries.com website for details. For Inside Star Citizen, I'm Jared Huckabee. We'll see you all here next week. You've seen people say that we rely too heavy on beam gameplay, that everything's a beam.
Oh, yeah.
Salvage is a beam.
Yeah.
Mining is a beam.
Actually, we internally talk
Moving
about.
is a fucking beam. What do you say to people who say that we're beam citizen?
They are right.
Use it.
It's like they didn't know to expect that, but okay, sure. Anyway. Alrighty, let's get this.
In gameplay.
Can I just take this opportunity to say that Jared is a national treasure and should be protected at all costs?
He's an endangered species. I wish. Anyway.
Now. All right, so what did you guys think of the beam information in general? Badges.
Yeah, it's a nice step towards the whole. There's been so many games where you've got a gameplay loop and it's like confined to its own loop, and you look at another problem and you go, wouldn't it be great if I could use this to solve that? And because it's not designed to do that thing, you're frantically going, well, it makes sense, but it's not going to let me do it because that's not the way they intended for me to play. Whereas this now looks a lot better. This looks like we're going to get that, kind of, hang on a second, I've got an idea. Give me that tractor beam tool. And, actually being able to solve genuine problems with it. And like they say, probably doing a whole bunch of stuff they never expected, which they'll let us do and keep doing because it's really cool.
Yeah. No, I think it's just in line with what they said. It's just, I guess, we're getting in a little earlier than we expected.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bit like the planetary gameplay, the pupil to planet, where it came in and Chris was like, oh, crikey. Yeah, I thought we could do that in several years' time, not now. This feels like one of those things that's where they always seem to had planned to want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But we can get it earlier, and it's like so many applications just across the board. So yeah, it's something to look forward to and appreciate and enjoy.
I think I probably had a weirder takeaway than most people, but I just want to see more of the different sized cargo containers and more of that cargo refactor come on there.
Yeah,
that was it for me.
Well, I think that will also come in as well. Like just thinking, I was thinking when I was talking the missile reload, I was thinking, yeah, having those internal missile bays, the missile loaders like on the Miss or the Connie's internal missile rack. Then having missiles there, it means you can actually just do it without having to go out into EVA. Every other ship, you've got to go out into EVA to do it. So any ships with internal racks, that adds to the loading ammo into the Perseus. That you got your rack container, you use your tractor beam, you can put it in. So you can see that application just, for me, I'm just starting to spread it out. So yeah.
So someone in Twitch chat just said,
coming.
I wonder if the large tractor beam will be used for 32 SCU cargo containers. Yeah, I think it will be. I think that That's kind of what they're expecting that for. And it's kind of like Algared said, like it doesn't seem logical to allow a whole ship to be pulled back by a tractor beam, but you've got to try to like almost make up more reasons why that would work. And as I said, if you just made it so it disables the engines and essentially, you know, puts it in a field of, you know, like a black hole essentially, like where there's no gravity. Then the ship, even no matter how much force it's got trying to pull away, it can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I know in the past, CRG have also talked about shields defending, you know, having it being a thing that counters, you know, so how strong your shields are would have an impact on tractor beams, same as they have an impact on EMP. So the better the shields are, the stronger the shields are, the less impact it has. So,
Hey, Expert Brett, who's in Twitch, how you doing?
good to have you here.
Gonna add her as a VIP real quick. There we go. There we go. There we go. What was I thinking? So the other thing I noticed though was the SRV does not have that bubble at the moment. So I actually think the bubble stuff might be coming further down the line. And I start to wonder, besides the SRV, is that a very specific case that it gets the bubble? Or do you reckon they're going to potentially add the bubble to other tractor beams? So could you essentially have 2 cargo containers, and if you have the bubble mode turned on, it can pick up both at the same time? So that's something I haven't even considered until just that moment.
Or the other thing is, if you've got a 32 SCU cargo container and you've got 2 or 3 guys with small handheld tractor beams, can they pick up that 32 SCU container and attach it to wherever they want or put it in a cargo hold?
Yeah, so Expat was saying Titan suits with tractor beams. We've talked about that many times. Like, why would you have a power loader that's like 2 claws when you can have tractor beams? But we've also mentioned low tech versus high tech. So, you know, almost like Drake versus Origin. So there'll be areas you go and they're just not as financially well off as, say, you know, another area, and so they just use traditional why is there hand trolleys in the game? That's why. Because if they can't afford the tractor beam tech, or you know, it's not as reliable, they've just gone back to the old school methods. So there probably will be, you know, Titan suits with claws and Titan suits with tractor beams to answer. Not that it was a question, Expat, but yeah. Badgers, anything you want to add there about tractor beams or quality or anything like that? Or you just
no, I think you kind of got it when you said that to see it to start to interact with all the other gameplay loops is where we start to see the depth add, and that's kind of, I think, where we're starting to see the payoff of the time that they're taking.
Yep. Because
they have made all of these things that they can interact with all of these systems as they put them in. You know, it's not like we're getting, you know, this next level of tractor beam gameplay and then we're going to have to do that for the guns, and then we have to do that for the components. It's all coming at once because that's how they're building it.
And that was one of the things they've always said. We'll do the groundwork first, so we can actually add in all the things and not have to back engineering stuff. So
I've got to cut it. I've got to cut in here, Mr. Stunner. I want your military opinion here, please, Badgers. This is from Mr. Stunner. He was talking to Expert Brat. He goes, "Yes, can you imagine a mech suit covered in spiky bits, and you tractor beam pull your enemies into you and just impale them on yourself?"
It's a little bit medieval for my taste. That's like, creepy as sin.
Trying to get me.
What the hell? Yeah, that's creepy. Stop it. Stop it, Stunner.
That's too much hunt showdown. That's what that is. That's too much hunt showdown.
Yeah, that's like, can you imagine like an episode of Running Man, but they're running from a guy in a mech suit?
Dear. The other thing that ties in with that, like you were picking up with the mechanical stuff versus the electronic stuff. A mechanical device, just using pistons and engines and that, is probably going to be more resistant to an EMP than, say, a tractor beam. And so that gives you that whole different gameplay as well.
You just hit another one. Conditions. You might be in a weather condition, or you might be in a planet that has an electromagnetic pulse or something like that, so you can't use tractor beams. You know, that could be a thing. Like, can you imagine a system where you can't use the whole series because the graviton plates won't work? I can. I can imagine that very, like, knowing the writers like I know them, they would, that is
God
something
help
they're
us,
going to do.
We'll need to pull in a Star-R because it's got its internal cargo hold or another ship with internal cargo hold to cope with it. Yeah.
I think that was the biggest surprise to me in that video was them pulling the Starfarer pods off. I didn't see that coming like that. So that, you know, is that going to be a weapon now? Like people dropping fuel pods on people, you know?
Yeah, drop a fuel pod and then shoot it as if I'm a big bada boom.
Big bada boom.
Dropping fuel pods onto Microtech to damage their pristine buildings. To take a line from Paul, because Paul keeps talking about doing horrible things like that to Huston.
Oh,
you know, so
he's a man after my own heart, after all. Yeah. Cool.
And yet he's the barkeeper at the Hurston bar. You know.
Yeah, all barkeeps are well connected and they know all people. They're a data broker essentially. Yeah. All right.
Well, in Paul's case, he's a drug dealer, or a drug mixer.
All right. You want to read the next question, Algared?
Yes, Lazarus says, do you think the prospector bags will be removable in 319?
I think it kind of showed that they could be, but functional? Don't think so.
I was thinking, given that they showed being able to do Starfarer pods, which was something we totally never expected, I could see, and they were doing the boxes onto their hull series, I could easily see prospector bags being...
That would be a request that I would love to see. If the 319 they could make it so that when you take the bags off, the next ones extend. But the mole and the prospector, that would be huge. That would be like if we can get that confirmed, that would be sick. Because I think a lot of that would be a huge boost to mining. Because then you've instantly got someone like a Hull A or something like that will be there picking them up, so you don't have to, it gives another person into the group doing gameplay. Absolutely think that's cool.
What I'd like to see with those bags is rather than them show deployed all the time, is they deploy as they're filled up. Because they're kind of retractable bags, so as you fill them up, they've showed up, so you can actually see at a glance. Oh yeah,
that is how they're meant to work. Yeah, you're right. But I'm also thinking, even if it's just it's like a hack for the first time. They just pop. There's no animation at all. If they can do it quick and dirty, I'm cool with quick and dirty. But I'm pretty sure someone's animated all that shit and it's ready to go, knowing CIG. So if they can get that working, oh man, is that too big a thing to ask for? I don't know. Let us know in chat if you think that's too big of a thing. Like to my brain, that doesn't seem too far. It's just probably another thing on the list to add to 319, and that might make it too much. Yeah.
But definitely the ability to pull bags off the prospect, put them onto a hull series or to the refinery ship when the refinery ship comes. Does that mean the refinery ship could be on the road, coming soon? Because we've got the tractor beams being able to move the bags and do that changing.
Expat, if you want, since you're talking so much, you can just jump in chat and I'll drag in if you want. Just drop in one of the voice channels on the Discord. I'll drag you in. If you want to join us.
Drag up.
It's up to you. Next question. Actually, we should make Badgers... Let's make Badgers read the questions because he's not talking a lot. So he can read all the questions. Badgers, next question. Yeah, exactly. You're muted.
I'd love to if I had access to it.
Okay.
Stream questions. So, you tried it. Oh yeah, because you lost your Discord account, didn't you? You dumb shit.
You're no longer Badgers.
There you go. I'll just make that one, and boom, you now have access. There you
go. Are you guys keeping track of this by ticking them and? Yeah, I can't see any questions before 2026. So. Yeah.
6:59 John Ski is the question we're up to. So we're only 2 hours behind. Almost.
Only.
An hour and a half behind. We'll get there.
Yep. Trying to fix that for you. Hold on.
You're not going to be able to fix it for me.
Why isn't it? Anyway, Algared,
It's
just read,
done what you've asked.
Algared, just
but
read the
it's
next
saying-
question.
Yeah.
I can do this
Okay,
while you're doing the
so
question.
the initial analysis. So what's your initial analysis of the SRV tug badges? You thought you'd get away with not
It's
being able to say.
tug-like. Yeah. No, I think with soft death now, there's potentially more use for it. I really couldn't see what it was going to do before soft death. But now that we have that, and now that we have ships that are, going to be full of cargo and stuff, I get it. You're going to need to drag it to somewhere where it's possibly a little bit more usable, or even stop something falling out of Atmo. That
into a planet where it's going to go boom.
Yeah,
So
that sort of stuff. It'll certainly help for that sort of stuff, and then we'll see what other plans they have for it. Because apart from that, I still struggle to see what role it occupies in Star Citizen when everything is effectively maneuverable on its own. It's effectively that and recovery for repairs, which until we have the repairs in isn't a thing, right? So, yeah, we'll see.
I don't know. I think it could be used to also help park bigger ships. I think they called it a tug. If it's a tug, I just look at the normal tugboat. What does that do? And Algared, you'd probably be able to talk to this more than either me or Badgers, but from a lore perspective, a lot of the Argo stuff is around the ports. The raft.
go
ahead.
Argo, they were a rail. They worked on the rail lines. They get the rail systems working and polished and maintaining and streamlined that. They went into the MPVU was developed to move cargo between ships, and it became so good they started selling it. When the company used to sell off their old MPUVs, other people used to buy them. Service, and this was after the company had said it's past its serviceable use by date. That's how durable those Argo ships were. But they've always been logistics. That's been their bread and butter. That's why I see Argo going into mining with a bit of a because they're logistics. They're not the other areas of industry. But yeah. Shall we go on to the next question?
I was just going to say, I can also see the SRV being used in piracy. If you disable a ship, you can just take it anywhere. So why would you stop and salvage it on the spot where you can just move it 200 Ks and it's out of the search range and then salvage it over there? You know what I mean? I actually think, if you can use the tractor beams on a Cutlass, you know what I mean? Really quickly, that becomes apparent what people are going to do. They're going to move the crime scene, so to speak, and then salvage elsewhere. You do technically have a tractor beam on a Vulture. Can you grab and push with the Vulture? You see where I'm going here, right? Why would you stay in the crime scenes? I've just been hit by shit and they're here. We came, there's nothing here. The guy's gone, he's dead. There's a dead body, nothing else.
But the other thing comes into we're talking about the handheld tractors and the size of material that they could move, and I think that's going to translate to the ships. So
exactly. So
the SRV's tractor is going to be the one that can tow ships, where the others are going to be doing the other stuff.
Well, they did show a hand tractor beam pulling an Aurora, right? So and again, if it's like the bubble tech, if I have the 2 tractor beams on a Cutlass, can I? You know where I'm going? I probably just to give an example, I might not be able to drag another Cutlass with 1 tractor beam, but with 2 tractor beams, I might be able to. I'm just theorizing. It is theory, right? But I'm just wondering. I'm looking for more reasons for for SRV and how tractor beams are going to affect the game.
And it raises the question.
Oh, you're breaking up real bad, mate. All right, say again. Nope. Full robot mode. Are you getting him as a robot too, Badgers, or? Oh, I'm getting both of you as robots. Not good. Right. Hang on. Give me a sec. Yep. Okay, so I'm getting a Discord error at the moment. So if you got, I know you two boys can't hear me because it's refusing to. Yep. Oh, I'm going to restart Discord. Sorry about that, boys. Cannot be helped. There's some kind of Discord error. I was wondering what was going on because I can see you both totally clearly, but I can't hear you at all. Alrighty. All right, can you hear me again now?
We can.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just some kind of weird Discord error. And I literally, when I restarted it, actually said a routing error. It literally came up in red, said no route. so
Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
Wow.
it was weird. Yeah.
So
Australia not having a route. Anyway, right. That's the story for another time.
you're not rooted.
Yeah, I'm not rooted. Anyway,
Intentional.
so what you were saying, Aaron, you went all robot and then broke up.
It was a bit like when I was posing before. Can three people with a handheld tractor beam move a 32 SCU?
Exactly.
Combine it. But I think the goal will be the SRV is a ship that is designed to be pulling the big ships.
Yep.
How many tractor beams you would need to be able to pull a ship away is another thing. But
well, that even adds
certainly,
other things down the line. If those bubbles become a thing, right? Does that actually also mean that I can take an SRV and a hand tractor beam tool and they work together as well?
Yep. And that raises a question: are they going to keep that bubble idea, or are they just going to do away with it? But
can you imagine Test Squadron and they're all hanging out the side of their Aurora with a hand tool trying to pull trying to pull an interest, like 500 of them. Anyway,
they probably could do it.
Yeah.
But certainly the Cutlass with its tractor beams with soft depth would be able to start stripping off the good weapons that are on that ship before it boom.
Oh yeah. So Shady Phase just said tractor beams on the Caterpillar would make loading and unloading so fast. Like, think of all the functionality that ships are going to get. The 315P, like all those ships with tractor beams are just going to go to another level.
Constellation Taurus with its two tractor beams on that lower turret, which puts it in a perfect position to load that cargo bay.
It does.
Absolute gem. So yeah. Lots and lots of applications.
Puts it in a good position too when physicalized cargo loading and unloading comes in. Like, and that's why I was asking questions too about like the resupply in that badges, because like I'm starting to realize like there is a downside, like a massive downside to ballistics over lasers and stuff. Like, so they might be stronger and they deserve to be a lot stronger because of that downtime. You know, like you look at something like the Perseus versus, I don't know, a laser equivalent, right? That thing is going to be like, you know how they said in the it took out two of these other ships, those Vandal ships. It should have done because it packs an absolute wallop. But then if you hang around for too long, you're stuffed. Badgers, can you tell us in real world terms? I guess in the real world terms, that's all we have right now, isn't it? It is all very physicalized and very
yeah. I mean, you break weapon systems down into different ways. At the minute, is you've obviously got stuff that you can rearm at sea just by coming two ships or pull alongside each other while they're moving, and they'll pass each other by line transfer. And you can, obviously smaller missiles, air-launched weapons where you hold that for an aircraft that you launch organically, or for other vessels. All those things can be transferred. But if you look at weapon systems like Harpoon, which is NATO's current ship-to-ship weapon system, for a lot of vessels, they have to be, and I think universally at the moment, they have to be rearmed alongside. That's not an evolution you can do at sea. You need to get the crane and bring the canister in and all that sort of stuff.
Wow!
So
really?
once you fired your 8 Harpoon, you're heading alongside. So yeah, and certainly I know a lot of the Russian-based systems as well, like their the Sunburn, which is basically the length of a double-decker bus, achieve max stupid. Is not something you can refit at sea. You just don't have the hardware to lift it. So that's kind of the key. But going back to what you were saying about ballistics, I think this is why it's much more realistic for things like hammerheads, whose role is just to put out rounds. It's far more realistic for them in the longer term to be armed with lasers, because even with its own internal cargo given over to storage of ballistic ammo, it's going to burn through it so quickly. So if you're trying to do any sort of extended operation away from base, it's going to be lasers all the way.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I think I said that a couple of streams ago. I really see ballistics becoming the offensive weapon, and I really see the defensive weapon, and I really see lasers and shields being because you've got to go to the other side. You've got nothing to fall back on. So yeah, really interesting. I did want to. Sorry, I just want to ask. There's something SA always says when he talks about logistics. He's got that line, and he always talks about. Did you remember what he used to say, Badgers? It was something along like wars are made on supply chains or logistics. Did you remember the line he uses? And that was I was trying to remember what it was, but I can't remember.
It's something like tactics win battles, logistics win wars, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. I tend to listen. I stop listening when SA starts talking.
You just fall into his eyes, don't you? Yeah.
I stare at his prettiness, and it's all a bit like.
It's just keep talking. Right, go ahead, Algared. Sorry.
I've forgotten the point I was going to say, but that's okay.
Oh, we stumped Algared. Sorry about that. Next question, Badgers, when you're ready.
Yeah, we'll go on to the next question.
Yeah. If you remember, Algared.
Sorry, it's
let us know.
Yeah, I just got a momentary disconnection message, so hopefully that's the end of the technical issues. Will be fixed. We'll be fine. It'll be sorted.
Yeah, it's just a Discord issue. It's not us. It's just something out of our control. All right. Dax question says, I don't know if you've ever spoken about it, but do you think there will be a system where we can set up automatic salary payments weekly, monthly to the players in our organization? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and it'll probably go the other way too. Like look at World of Warcraft. There was a system in that where it took a month, and that went into pay for everything. Like it used to pay for pots and all that type of stuff. I assume it'll be exactly the same way. They'll probably even have a way like an automatic. So if you're in a crew, like a pay party system, like an automatic, like it goes something like pay all the repairs out of the money we just made. Now split that by the 5 crew member. Bang. They'll probably have that all. You can have it set up so it's automated, or you can have it so the captain gets a bigger. You can set up the share ratios automatically. I reckon that'll be a thing.
I would expect them to do that. And I just remembered what I was going to say with ballistics. If you look back at World War II fighters, I think the maximum, if they did sustained fire, it was like 60 seconds max on their guns that they could fire, and then they were done. That was it.
Yeah.
And say, 2-second burst, 2-second burst, 2-second burst. You didn't sit there going. Brrr.
Yeah, they overheated a lot back then, didn't they? So
they ran out of ammo. Thought overheating. They ran out of ammo.
Oh, there you go.
How did the noise go, Algared?
It's a trill. The trill of the tongue to make the R sound.
Sounded like they were firing cats at the other people.
Okay. Brrr. There you go. Guns go. Brrr. There you go.
Now he's got a 1930s telephone firing at us. Anyway, right. I
don't know what's going on either, chat. I have no idea.
Now he's turned into a pigeon. Anyway, right. Carla Bellany asks, question, how does Algared even play the game with his internet connection? He must be a magician, as his name suggests.
My concern is, how does my name suggest a magician?
I know there must be a magician called Algared. But
it must be. It's actually my name is actually a transliteration of the Tolkien word for glorious light from the Elven. Went from a pen and paper play game. It should have been Aglarid, AGL, but I did the transliteration wrong. So, and by the time it was realised, it was like the name had already stuck. So
you were already internet famous and couldn't do a damn thing about it.
That's right. Yeah. It had already happened, and the name was there. So tough.
Loved by thousands,
That's right.
Yeah.
And in terms of the internet connection's fine for playing the game. There's no problem. It's just when we're doing the live streams and got 2 or 3 things going, it tanks. Either the area seems to get overused at times, and then we get those issues.
It tends
like
to
I
be
do have NBM.
more of the evening, doesn't it? Around about 7:30 as people come out of dinner time. It seems to really
And
get started.
it does seem to be it does seem to be an area impact rather than local, and it's just a matter of
just a matter of time of waiting until we can get a better connection there for him. Might have a look at it. I've got an idea I want to run by her, but we'll with things kicking off, I'll talk to you about that later. But yeah, all right. Do you mind? Questions are always difficult. Do you mind? No. So someone just was talking.
No, we don't mind questions that are difficult. It always gives us a discussion point. So,
Nova42 asks, is there a channel on your Discord to seek CCU chain advice?
There is.
There's a couple, actually.
It's called... you can kind of get help with the Fix My Fleet if you're looking at that, but there is actually a channel called CCU Help.
Yep. And we even have a role on Discord for people that we've kind of vetted that know what they're talking about. But we're always looking for more people every time we come up to like an Invictus or an AIE. So if you think you might be good at helping other people with CCUs and you want to help other people with CCUs, just at one of the other CCU helpers, and as long as 2 of them vet you, you can join their ranks. That's how we've kind of made that work.
So, what is the colour that we use for those people who have been vetted? X.
There is none of them online right now, which totally sucks. But there are kind of like a greeny teal, and the way you really kind of tell is they have a square icon. So helpers have squares on our Discord. So yeah.
So that will be how you can tell if they're someone we've vetted or someone who's just saying what they think. And that's not saying the person who says what they think is wrong. It just means they're not speaking, at least with the voice of Inforunners.
Yeah. And everyone's entitled to their own opinion, you know. So we're not going to nerf anyone what they have to say. It's just that we know that those people know.
I know what
they're good. They're good at making. They are very generalized in what they talk about. They're not going to go like buy every Origin ship because they're really nothing like that, because that is not a, you know, and don't buy every fighter in the game. Like they understand what we're trying to teach people is essentially what we're trying to say. That they, you know, we're not. They're not the people we've vetted because they're sensible. They're not going to. They're not going to give you advice that we would deliberately be opposed to something that we would try to teach you.
And thank you, Scott, for pointing out why Algared is a magician type sounding name. Apparently, it's Algared Cadabra.
Yeah.
So kind of like abracadabra. So
everyone's entitled to their opinions, unless it's about the Liberator being a carrier, in which case
they're wrong.
Yeah, or the Perseus being good. Yeah.
Or the Nomad being a great, awesome ship.
Or that being a beard.
Dude, don't put yourself down. You are trying your best.
Just remember, you started this.
Give yourself a little bit of it. Like you're ill. It's okay. You know.
I mean, you meant to be making you feel better,
not worse. The fact that you look like a bulldog chewing wasps is not. Well, I mean, it is kind of your fault, but.
A bulldog chewing wasps. Oh, poor dog. That would be awful. Oh, that's okay. Terrible.
So. Monster AV, I have a question.
Like just the mouth getting all like bigger from.
Monster AV has a question. Pull us back on track. With the updates to mining, do you think they will have any news about the Orion or large miner, or have to wait until IAE?
So, kind of like we said earlier about like the underground mining and like just how much more complicated mining is with the stuff that they had to add. It just seems a couple of steps back at the very least. And I honestly think the landminer and the Orion are just that far back because of that. and in if you kind of work it through from a simplicities perspective, the Orion actually feels like it would come before the landminer. Just when you work
I was
through.
going to raise the same point.
So
Agree.
so working that out, hearing that we haven't heard anything on the Orion for ages. The last thing I remember, Algared, 2016, 2017 was that grey box where they kind of talked about it, like they had the internal grey box and they doubled it in size.
Yeah, because it made sense. That was because it makes sense for it to be bigger. It felt too small, so we made it bigger. That was the thing, and they showed us the grey box, and that was the last we heard.
Yeah, so I like taking that and knowing that there was like 5 RSI ships. They're the 2 RSI ships that I would kick down the road. So that would leave the Perseus, the Polaris, and the Galaxy and the Apollo. Do I think we could see a concept for the RSI landminer? Abso-fucking-lutely. And that's what I'd be expecting. So if this year is the year of RSI, and if you go look on, actually that's something. Remember you've triggered something, Algared. Remember I said there was stuff I wanted to talk about on the stream, but I said I'll talk to you about it later, and then I got sick and we never talked about it. We can talk about that. Right. Go ahead, Algared. Say what we're gonna say. Why I pull this up.
So I was going to say I could see the Orion being a ship they pulled out as a capital ship they bring out for the IAE, but they haven't told us about. I think it's unlikely, but I could see it being a ship because for simple fact that it's just doing space mining, and so the space mining seems pretty much done. But I think they'd wait until they've got munching in because it uses very similar. It seems to use very similar tech to what the Reclaimer does. It pulls asteroids in, it munches them, it chews them up, it does all the other stuff, as well as having the mining lasers. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what I did was look up vehicle content for EU, which is like Manchester essentially and Frankfurt. And what I was doing, I was looking, I'm trying to remember what I was doing because like this is a week ago. And I believe I was looking at unannounced ones, and there was a surprising number of ships that were finishing like just before May, which is when Invictus is.
Yep.
Right, and I'm trying to find them, and now obviously I can't find them, so I can't talk about it. But essentially, what I was looking at was, I keep pressing the wrong button like an idiot. What are the potential ships that we could have at Invictus? Right, we know that the Santoki is probably the big one. The Fury we know is being worked on. Now that sounds like a fighter, Invictus. And then the last one that I think is probably the most up in the air is we know the Lynx is now on the roadmap. Now, I come back though also is the Legionnaire is due to be finished. I'll see if I can check that actually real quick. Legion.
We did actually touch on this in our discussions at the end of the show last week, but because I can remember we're going, yep.
Apparently, I can't spell Legionnaire.
But we didn't get our detailed conversation on that.
There we go. So Legionnaire, 2 teams. Apparently, it's all done according to this. So 26 weeks, Legionnaire in a game-ready vehicle, and that means if it's not visually showing that it's already done. So chances are that's coming in Invictus as well. But then the other part of it you would say is we're meant to be getting hacking gameplay, and we didn't get hacking gameplay yet. Actually, let's just check that real quickly. Hacking. Oh God, if I could only spell. I'm rushing myself. I shouldn't be rushing when I'm ill either. Damn it. Hack. I am a hack. I can't spell. All right, here we go. Hack. Hacking tier 0 into March. That gives them 2 months leeway.
Invictus.
Yeah, okay. So there's quite a few options there now, which is kind of scary to me because like if you look at this last year, we only got 2 ships in Invictus, right?
Yeah, we could be spoiled for choice this year. Or they could be spoiled for choice this year.
Yeah, but it also makes me think that they're not going to they've learned to like flooding those sales is not a good thing. Like and that's why they tend to
Yep.
have the 3 different size points. So,
Yep.
I don't know. It's interesting. Let us know your thoughts in chat. Like, what do you think we're getting there? But traditionally, we also get 3 different size points. We tend to get a vehicle, a small, a medium, and potentially a large. Like an Invictus, I think the biggest I've seen is 4, and that was 3 different size ships. And that's possible, I guess, then. Because Legionnaire would fall into the medium category. The Fury, a single-seat fighter. The Santucci is also a fighter. You know what I mean? So, like, well, I don't know. We don't know what the Fury is yet, so we'll see. No, Badgers, what's your thoughts there, if you've got any?
Yeah, I mean, just a reminder that although it's unusual to abandon a ship halfway through a sprint, or they normally, once they started on it, they take it through to completion. That work finishing in the progress tracker on the progress page is an indication that it's finished.
True.
But yes, yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the hacking gameplay and to see all these. I know you've asked the question about the, in terms of what ships we see coming from Invictus. But I just kind of want to make the point that I was walking around on one of the rare times that I could get to 318. I was walking around one of the abandoned outposts, and it was sprawling. It was great. There wasn't much to it, but there was an area with a landing pad and a couple of buildings, and then I realized there were a couple of buildings further away through trees, so I went to go and check those out as I was taking off. And then as I landed, I just happened to look back over my shoulder and went, oh, there's a watchtower at the top of the hill, and then went up to the watchtower. But walking around their crates, you can see that there are some with bits that are going to be where we cut through with a cutting tool. And you can see that some of the pads are already set up for hacking. For someone to try and go and hack the panel with a number code. There's like jacks where you can put things into it and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think we need to bear in mind, like you said, with how much that it's going to interact with everything else going on, like how much work now is going to have to go into each and individual gameplay loop to get it anywhere near like its basic functionality. In terms of the ships for Invictus, I genuinely don't know. I'd love to see some of the RSI stuff this year, but
I've just had a realization, and I kind of put this both to back of you. We are actually on the opposite foot for a change, and I'm wondering if it's that ripening of the ship pipeline. Usually we don't have enough ships to fill the slots, so to speak. Like last year, where we only got 2 ships. I'm now sitting here going da 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 da, because you've also got things like the Hull C, the SRV. You start adding ships there, and quite quickly you're realizing there's more than 4 potentially very quickly.
Yep.
People are mentioning in chat the X1, the G12. I'm pretty sure is not on the roadmap, but I'll look up. I don't know where my mouth is and double check that, but I'm pretty sure they haven't not started on the G12. What was it? Nothing. Unless it's one of the unannounced ones, but there's nothing for the G12 right now. I do know the X1's on there, but I think the X1, see, it's way past Invictus. So the X1, that, and I'm going to be honest with you, that really, for me, looks a lot more like an AIE thing because it's Origin, and Origin just is instantly... I think they only have very few military... Like, the only real military one, Algared, you correct me if I'm wrong here, is the... that version of the G12 with the missiles on the back. That's the only kind of military-based one at all that they've got.
Yep. That I can recall.
That the military actually uses. So yeah.
Did they have one with radar on it as well? But the G12 that caught my eye was always the radar. And other than that, I went off the G12. It's the size of an Ursa, but wider than an Ursa, so you couldn't put it into a Connie. Whereas originally I thought, it's half the size of a Connie, an Ursa, great, But when it was almost the same size but wider, it was like it's only usable on 600 eyes or big ships. So I just went,
It's really weird. It's got something to do with their website. Like if you type something, select it, and then press a key, it works like the delete key, but it doesn't actually type it. That's really weird. I thought it was me, but it's actually their website. Wow. So the whole C's wrapped up everything as well. Shit.
Yep.
So the
Wait,
SRV
But
and the whole C are done, and the Legionnaire's done. So those, just saying.
But based on the video we just saw, we were saying the whole sea looks done. So
Yeah.
that doesn't surprise me that it's
Well,
done in
The roadmap just kind of confirms it a bit more officially for me.
Mm.
But
yeah, it does.
I think the SRV is, I don't know, based on what we saw today, do you think that means we're going to see the SRV sooner rather than later?
I could see that.
Well, it kind of, I
don't think it's too far away.
kind of gave the tip of the hat to 319 for me. So what, around about, what's that, September? Or it could be around June as well, about 3 months. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to go over there? Look again. Let us know in chat what you think, because I think we are sport for choice there. It's an interesting place to be where, before we were trying to find out what could potentially coming. Now it's like, well, they've gone the other way. There's like so much coming, you can't figure it out now. Tough shit. We'll just throw everything at you, and you won't know what's coming.
Do the favour, X. The Lynx rover. Look at that. Look where that is. See where that is in development at the moment.
Can do. So April still again gives it room for May. So yeah.
Yep. And the reason I asked you to do the very next question is from Benjamin Hanna, and he says, "What do we know about the Lynx rover in terms of lore, leaks, or info that has been mentioned by CIG?" So all we know is that it is comes with the Phoenix. I think the only lore I was Googling and trying to find out what they said. It's a luxury version of the Ursa rover that comes with the Phoenix. That's all we generally know. And they've been working on it, and it's to be finished in April. So it's made by RSI, and that's about it. So, yeah.
I think the Lynx is looking a lot more likely where you were looking at the Legionnaire team. Sorry, the Legionnaire. The Legionnaire, the only teams working on it are the vehicle concept art and the narrative team.
That's not what it says.
So-
It says building, implementing, balancing the Anvil
Yeah,
Aerospace
but-
Decade boarding ship and Legionnaire as a game-ready vehicle. That means it's
Yeah,
finalized. done.
no, negative. Look at the two teams under it, next to it. Look at mouse over both of those teams. These are the two teams that are currently working on it,
Back in a sec.
and it says
Well,
vehicle
You're talking
content
the
and
Legionnaire, or
lore
you're talking the Lynx? You're
for
talking
the Legionnaire.
The Legionnaire.
So, unfortunately, as much as it would be cool to see it coming, I don't think that's that. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Okay. But for the Lynx, we at least know that it's a luxury version of the Ursa. And
Yeah.
they're working on it and hopefully finishing it by April. So it could be soon.
Yes.
It could be and I have I've speculated that it could be a vehicle that comes in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry.
Yeah, the fact that there were content teams on it makes it more likely.
That was the mailman. Door.
Yay!
And you've got mail.
I know. I got a new
Sorry,
door.
you've got mail.
I got a new doorbell during the week, and it now tells me when they're here. So I got sick of missing all the parcels and having to.
Did it go? Bing dong! You've got mail.
No, I just said someone's at the back door. Anyway. What did what did I miss? Sorry.
Not much.
Not much.
Just talking about the on the Legionnaire, whilst that's what it says in the description. If you look at the teams working on it at the minute, it's just the concept art and the narrative teams.
All right, let me go. Check.
So that they're not quite there yet. Where it says VCA and NER.
Vehicle concept art and
those are the only teams they've got ascribed to
Yeah,
it.
I
So it
guess we
sounds
can
like
take-
it's still.
We can take the Legionnaire off the table then. Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that's interesting is one of the chats that's coming up in YouTube at the minute is about 318 and PES and what it can and can't handle. PES doesn't seem to be struggling with the servers per se, because it worked in PTU. What killed 318 and PES was when they gave it to everyone. So it seems to be more of a back-end login authentication.
It's a
Who
bandwidth.
owns what ship?
It's a bandwidth
Yeah.
issue. Yeah.
It's those services. So it sounds like, and the other thing as well with PES is, of course, it might not be PES. It might be that PES is trying to draw on services that can't handle that level of inquiry that PES is trying to get from them. So PES might be, and this is the question.
To me, it
Sorry,
felt
go on.
like a login issue. It didn't feel like a PES issue. It felt like like they had a really shitty login server because they had to convert everyone over every time there was a patch, and because it was only one, and it was located in I don't know where it was located. Let's just say, for example, it was located in the States. If you had any form of internet congestion, you couldn't get through. That's what it felt like to me.
According to chat, it was Algared's lost javelins that
I
crashed
was
the
going to say
servers.
the same thing. It was my fault.
Yeah. It's really interesting because we don't know. What we do know is PES is not working as expected.
Yeah.
But like we say, that might not be PES in and of itself. It might be that PES is trying to talk to, because I don't know if anyone saw, there's a hot fix there's a fix that they're bringing out, which is that when you spawn in now and you select your home station, that rather than retrieving your ships will show as deliverable. And whilst they're deliverable, they're not actually anywhere. So when you log in and you go deliver, it will then go, you can retrieve this now. And it basically means that for those of us that spawn on a big planet or a major landing zone and then like to go and live somewhere else, so, take off, go live in orbit, go live at a rest stop or a station or whatever else, it means that the servers are not then being inundated with, well, I'm going to claim all of my ships from now my current location, because they're not assigned anywhere. You then go deliver when you want it.
Yeah.
But that obviously stops people. I'm sure some people would just log in and go claim, because some of my ships will take an hour and I don't want to wait for that. So I'll do it now.
Well, that's why. That's why they turned off the character reset, because people were just doing it. Even though they told people, like, they even changed a thing and they had a sign that said, "This will not fix the login issues." People doing it anyway. As I said, gamers don't.
And I've got to admit, I really, really like that idea of the deliverable ships not actually being in game, not actually being called on. Because for people with big fleets, it means I just want to pull out the ship I need and find it out once it's been delivered and it's at that location. If you want to use it at another location that's still at Hearst, it's still at Lawville, and you're now at New Babbage. If you want to use it, you can't have it delivered. You've got to reclaim absolutely 100% on that. But
the other thing is that one of the things that we've got to recognise that it's just not one issue. And Scott in chat makes a good point. He says about how servers degrade over time, and you're entirely right, mate. They do. The challenge there is, if that was the case, we would have all got into 318 fine, and it would have been 3-4 hours in where all these issues hit. But it wasn't. It was from minute dot. There was some sort of aspect. So the two issues, it's not either or. It's certainly one. It's a combination of factors, right?
Yeah, but there's so many unseen things that are going to happen. You got to be honest. Like, if you didn't think that this was going to be a smooth release, you got fucking rocks in your head. And all those casual people, there were so many casual people that came out of the woodwork to try 318. Like, there was so many people streaming.
I bet all those people who are going just release it are feeling pretty stupid round about now.
Yeah.
Well, they did. Apparently, they released it early because there was people complaining. Well, that's what people said, and I said I don't think they released it early. I think they took as much time as they wanted to. But when it came out, there's no way to predict what's going to happen. you're building something bespoke that's never been done before. How can you expect to know what's going to happen?
Yeah. And you've
impossible.
Yeah, and you've been you tried it on Avocado and it was working, so you moved it into the next stage and it was you got it running smoothly there. And you were saying it near the end of the PTU, hey, it's running really smooth.
Yeah.
There's no problems with it. It's running really smooth. And then it goes to live and something breaks. It's
and just went to shit, didn't it?
Yeah, it happens.
I tell you what would be really interesting, and we're never going to find this out, but it would be really interesting to know all the time they spent fixing an issue or the myriad of issues they had to get 3.18 out to live. Was that time well spent, or in retrospect, given the issues that we have now, would we actually be further on if they just yeeted it out the door earlier and then hit this wall of crap that we're currently in? And then, because if they'd released it 3 weeks earlier, we'd be 3 weeks later in solving it, presumably. But then, of course, if those pre-existing issues weren't the same thing, then no, we wouldn't be 3 weeks further down the line. So it's interesting to know
until if they don't show up until you go into live, you can't work it out.
Yeah.
So it is one of those. It is one of those big issues, but it would be interesting also to know whether, as you said, was it paired with the problem pairs trying to talk to the account, and then the account just not being able to cope with the information transfer that was being asked for, and so it would say, no, can't do it. I'm broken, mate. Who knows? But I do have a question for Execute.
Yeah.
What is the map or the terrain, the development tree that you've just had delivered?
That was a playmat for June Imperium. I had to get it printed because they don't make them. But yeah, I play a lot of June Imperium. Yeah.
So there you go. It's looking very nice. Always nice when you get those.
I'm not entirely happy with it. It's a little. It doesn't seem as colourful as it should. It seems a little faded, but I think it's just because they're not used to printing. Because it is a fairly dark one.
Yep.
Yeah.
A quick question for you both. From Halfsack, what is the best Skittles flavour?
Yellow.
All of them at the same time.
Even the sour ones and the normal ones. Oh, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm not a big Skittles man, so I can't really say. But when I eat my Smarties, I always eat the red ones last.
That's an old joke, that one.
It is, but it used to be the old, when you eat your Smarties, do you eat the red ones last? And my answer was always yes. I don't know why, but I did.
I think these days the closest I'd get to those would be the peanut M&Ms. They're probably the closest I get to Skittles these days.
Carl Smith. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just reading kind of bits of chat and that, and I think people have to be really careful about the claims that they make, because there's claims about various things not being able to handle it and that sort of stuff. First of all, you don't build something at the speed that it's going to run at. You build it at a slower speed and then you amp the speed up, right?
Yep.
Secondly, we have to be, and I guess it's not the same as chat, right? But all we will say as YouTube creators is that we get, if you say something as a creator that isn't right, it will fucking come back to haunt you. So you've got to be careful, and this is where one of the things that I tend to do with a lot of my videos is wherever I've got in my info from, I'll keep a note of them for the video. And then literally I will have whatever claim I've made, I will write that claim in, and then I'll give you the link so you could kind of see what is, where I've got my information from it. So at least it's sourced. That doesn't mean it's accurate, but that at least I'm saying, hey, this is something that I've heard. This isn't just something that I've heard. This is something that I've read. This is something that I can show you a source for. And I think sometimes it's the same, because there's a lot of misinformation and rumor that goes on around about this game. And what's really interesting, and I don't know if chat's noticed, But they don't call it vaporware anymore. And they don't call it a tech demo anymore. And that stuff is going away. So now it's the game in development that's taken too long and this has far too much money. But they are calling it a game. And it's really interesting to see that evolution of even the people that don't like it now. You know,
They're calling it a game.
I very rarely see it get called vaporware, or, you know, a tech demo or whatever anymore.
They still up shitting on it though. Like,
Totally
it's
just.
so buggy and blah blah blah. Because, like, man, like everyone knows good things take time.
But those same people used to say it's only a tech demo; it'll never come out. Now it's or it's only vaporware; it'll never come out. Now it's a game; it's just buggy.
But we've been saying for years the reason why they do this is they've learned that like you've only got to go look at any of your own YouTube feeds and they all just breed on hate. Like they're literally trying to get a reaction out of you, so you go there and look at. Anger is a much stronger emotion than well, it's just easier to make someone angry. Well, be honest with you, it's much easier to make someone feel good. It's harder to make someone feel good than it is to make them feel angry. Like I can make Badgers or Algared very angry very quickly.
He can. He knows the buttons to press. But likewise, we can do this. we can do the same to you.
Yes.
Certainly, I know I can press your buttons very quickly, very easily.
Yeah. All these years, yes, for sure.
And you can do likewise.
Especially when I'm ill. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's when I'm not trying to. I'm sorry. But yeah.
No, it's fine. I've just learned to tolerate you after all these years, as you have me.
And I think that's the key thing to take away from this with 318 is that, yes, you're right to be frustrated. Yes, you are right to be angry and annoyed that it's screwed up, right? Yes, this is going to happen again. Yep. And phrases like they've got to make it more stable before they add stuff. And, you know, you thought they would have learned from previous releases. The only thing they need to learn from this release, really, and not ever, ever, ever do again, is don't can do it on a Friday afternoon. Because you've got the initial weekend then that just breaks it, and that's that. But what was suggestive, Limited?
Go on, X.
I just... Look, I think the other thing is, like, most of the audience here gets that it's in development. Like, we're talking to people that are just like us. You guys know this. You know, there's no point explaining it to you. It's really those people. Like, I don't like the fake. I don't like the fakery, the drama of it, right? And I am just. I think that's what we're all kind of trying to say is we're just kind of a little bit over the drama. We know that this is a game in development. It's going to have issues. Again, if they're stopping and starting, to me, most of the complaints, and especially Spectrum, that's where people, when they're new, go and vent. And that's why it's just nothing but complaints there, because they don't know where else to go to talk, or and they don't understand how this works. And there are definitely content creators, both within our community and outside our community, that feed on that. There are total, there are massive streamers that get 3,000-4,000 people every time they stream, that their whole thing is just shitting on whatever they're talking about, you know, but that's their stick. I don't get the appeal of people like that because I find them huge fakes, but obviously there's a market for that. I don't know why, but, you know, obviously maybe I'm old now. That's officially a thing, you know, like, you know, when you don't understand, when the kids today, you know,
that's right.
You're old.
That's
it. And you know, the only way people are going to get this is you parrot the same message time and again, right? And bug fixing, stability. Yeah. Using the analogy of building a house, that's hoovering and dusting and polishing and cleaning stuff up, right? Yeah. We don't have walls. You know, we don't have all the walls. We don't have all the ceilings. We don't have the roof. We don't have the windows put in yet. Like, hoovering is just pissing into the wind. It's wasted time. And yes, there's a bit of balance to be had because they're shipping a live product, albeit an early access alpha. Yeah. they do need to do some of that stuff, but we all need to realize that even though we want that, we are demanding they waste their time. Because as Paz has just shown us, when they introduce something new, it's going to fucking break everything.
And it'll be exactly the same. I was just actually thinking with the line of work that you do and stuff like that. Actually, another way to look at it is like from the military way as well. Is sometimes you just want to do the bare like if you don't have a house, you just want to get a house up and working and and going. You don't give a shit if it's red, blue, green, or pink. You just want it to work, right? And again, because it's in development, they want it to work. And then, that's working. Now we can start to fill in the walls and stuff like that. But again, if those foundations are not in place, and again, at the end of the day, we still don't have the server meshing part. That's got to come in yet too. So there's no point going back and backfilling it in and putting all the fancy architraves up in the house and all the nice little light bulbs and all that, because the whole house could shift again, right? So there's no point. We are still... we've got the concrete down, we're still putting the walls up, and we've got to get the roof on, shit like that. Before, cart before the horse analogy. We said this, again, I don't know why we're saying this, because all these guys in chat know this.
But we've got new people in. I mean, we're up to, I think, across the platforms, we're over 200 people, so we've definitely got some new people in that we haven't seen. And it's just... when people say it's copium, it's not. It's just recognition of where we are, right? This is not being developed as a normal game. There is nothing in this game that is being developed in a traditional way. We've not picked anything up and gone, oh, we're just gonna use that as it is.
So let's
from every other game, and we're just going to put that into this game, and that's it done. I mean, the way they're doing, I guess the closest of the weapons.
Let's address
the closest. Sure.
Sorry, there's a really important one there. So MU235 goes, being able to log in is pretty foundational. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Agreed.
But stand back for a second and look at that. The fact that you can't log in has told them there's a problem that they can now fix. Right? So you got to remember, we're in early access alpha. That's all part of this shit, right? So you not being able to get in has now told them that there are issues that they didn't even know about, right? And I know it sucks, right? But that is essentially what we have signed up for. We are beta testers and real beta testers, not like a Call of Duty beta that's really a glorified demo, right? And the marketing people use the term beta to suck people in. It's not that. It is
exactly.
This is the real. We are. They've said since day dot we are an extended form of QA, and that is what we are, right? Especially Eva Cardi, like Algared and Son, right? You guys have to go. Algared, this is probably open the floor to you.
Eva Cardi's often a mess.
It's a hideous mess.
It is often a lot. You think live is buggy or PTU is buggy. Eva Cardi is often worse.
Yeah.
And you log in, you crash. You log in, you crash. You log in, you crash. You log in, you get through. You go, and you're just doing the stuff. I could get into Eva Cardi. I could get into PTU. I couldn't get into live.
That's not. That doesn't mean you don't get frustrated. You guys have got every right to be frustrated. I'm frustrated. Like I was. Like we wanted to do that Manteri's buyer's guide.
We couldn't get in.
It was annoying as shit. But I think the other part of it is it actually puts me at ease to understand why. And I think that's why we're talking about this. Is if you can understand why shit is happening, it alleviates that frustration. And that's what I think is the key takeaway. Is if you understand how it's being made and why it's being made, you don't get frustrated. So when you get people that are on the other side of it, like those casual guys that come along that are just flinging shit because they don't understand, it just shows me how uninformed they are. And again, that whole drama, and that's why I call it fake, because they don't know what they're talking about. And it just shits me. It's like, well, it's like any topic on Earth. If you inform yourself just the tiniest little bit and educate yourself, and you pick a topic on Earth, it's just anything like that. You educate yourself the tiniest little bit, and your understanding increases tenfold.
Look, I know. With when Live came out, I couldn't get in. The error I was getting was saying it was an account issue. Check your login data because it's not working. Now was ringing the alarm bells of the accounts. There's a problem with the account. Someone's accessed the account or done whatever. So I flung off a message to support.
Yeah.
They said, yeah, it's a problem with the patch. It's a common error of the patch. Okay, fine. Close that query. I don't need to know anymore. I know they're going to work on it and get it fixed.
Yeah.
Every so often through the week, I checked every time, couldn't get in, finally got in. I haven't had a problem since.
Yeah, so two things real quick.
But it is frustrating.
Yeah, so to respond to MU235, who we talked about his thing there, he said, I'm not mad, but there's a serious disconnect between the DGS and the database on the back end. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think that there's problems there with a login 100%. Server that wasn't ready for the load, you know? And I even said something like, oh, man, I don't want this to be like this on release. Like, they need to have separate login servers for every region just so there's no interconnect congestion. Because imagine on launch day, right? And this is another positive way to look at it, right? How you're saying you can't log in, MU, right? Wouldn't you rather you can't log in now, but you can on launch day? So imagine if that had been the launch of the game. Then you would have every reason to be livid. But wouldn't you rather it be you can't get in now, and so that shit is fixed now, so you can get in later? Now think about all the games that are released, and they've never been able to... Look at Diablo 3. Right now, they've just announced Diablo 4, right? And do you remember all the Illidan "you are not prepared" memes that came out back then for Diablo 3? It'll happen all again for Diablo 4 if they fuck it up. It'll be exactly the same thing. But they don't do. That's one of the reasons why they do the beta tests and the free to play stuff, because they've learned from their mistakes. If they do that shit,
checking the load.
Exactly. So you can't complain if it's free, right? Yeah. So, and so that's why they're going to do it, because they're going to get hit like an absolute truck.
Yes.
And be ready for launch day. They're going to go, right, well, we just got hit by 40,000 people, so the servers need to be this big, you know?
Precisely. And look, Scott raises a very good point. He says, if you look at the 318 hype videos from CIG, it really isn't new players' fault that they're uninformed or underprepared. And he says there's a serious disconnect between what SC is now and how it is shown by CIG and many SC content creators. Yeah, I mean, look, again, no issue, no argument there. Yeah. I think it's a really bad idea that they started talking about the Fortuna free fly and all that sort of stuff, that they were marketing this stuff on. It was showing up on my YouTube videos as an ad. Bad call. You know, and even if they'd had that plan months in advance, which they will have, they should have gone straight to YouTube and gone, bin the ads, bin it. It's not. We're not in the right place for this launch.
Yeah.
And this is why I tend to bang on about this stuff, is that it's not copium. I want people in here to understand, you know, that haven't been part of this conversation before. So not you guys that we've been talking to a lot, but the people who sat in there that aren't talking, that maybe don't feel like
your friends,
you know, that they're going to comment yet. Yeah, absolutely.
You get to watch the videos.
This is how you This is how you reassure your friends, things like that. Yeah. There were other weird issues too. Like, I was on with Daily Noob when we were out doing, I think we were doing reclaiming at the time, weren't we, Noob? But and some guy dropped by and go, "Oh yeah, I just brought a reclaimer. I can't play it. I can't play with it." It turns out, after we talked to him for about, I don't know, probably an hour, it turns out that he was trying to spawn at a space station. Right. You know, like he didn't know that you couldn't spawn the ship at, you had to spawn it at a landing zone on Grimhex. It was just hilarious to find out at the end of the day he didn't know that. But again, why would you know that? Why would you know? You know? So
yeah. Sorry,
we're going around in circles.
We are a little.
That's right. We are. We're venting our frustration. That's us venting, by the way.
We are venting our frustrations at the. We understand that it takes time. We know, and we know that it goes in, it breaks, and then they fix it. But I think at this point it's really good for us to move on to a question that will help calm our minds. So
I can start doing questions if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay,
we've caught up now. We've caught up to the point where, Cool. Okay, so Kyle Smith asks, you guys speculated that the Misk Fury could take design language from the Razor, but didn't mention the Reliant Tanner. do you think we'll see similar Xi'an influence in the Fury as with the Tanner?
Well, that was me that mentioned that. And the reason I mentioned that is if you kind of... Like, do you really see like a Miss Freelancer looking fighter? Like a big bubble or Hull C looking fighter? It just doesn't make sense. And the only thing that really looks fightery is the Razor.
But
the Tanner
but
is...
that's why they
Yeah, that's why they've said the Tanner. I would
Yeah.
say you could take some cues from the Tanner. Absolutely. You know, folding wings or something like that. But I think you'll find also that the Tanner's a bit of a thorn in CIG's side. It's one of those ships that looks cool. And that's the thing with a lot of Star Wars ships in general. They look cool, and there is something really cool about them, but they're not functional. They just aren't. Like, anyone that's been watching The Mandalorian, there's that really Bo-Katan ship. It's got these two massive rudder things, right? And it flies through, and it's got a really cool function to it. But when that thing lands, like, it's just not functional. Like, no one would want that ever. And they actually did originally have the Reliant to so the wings could fold up. And if they ever bring that back in, that should so be a thing. It would so make that a better ship because it's just got such a large footprint. It's essentially like as bigger than a Cutlass, yet it's actually like the function of that ship is tiny. It's like an Avenger that's bigger than a Cutlass. It makes no sense. And there's no, like, what is the benefit to that? Like, it doesn't, like, if it made it so it could glide in atmosphere or something like that, yeah, absolutely. But you got to remember, this is designed to fly vertically. It is, that ship is 100% aesthetics. There's nothing really... Badgers, I'll throw this to you because Algared and I are going to have the same type of thing to say. But militarily speaking, is there any advantage to a ship flying? Like, there's no ships in for humans right now that fly vertically. But could you see an advantage? That's why I'm throwing it to you because, like, me and Algared are going to be on the same page. So I just don't see it.
No. You know, again, that's kind of aerodynamics. It's the problem. You know, there's just there's no read across there. I don't think. I think potentially if there is read across, it's the idea of radar cross section and signal emission.
All right.
Potentially the ability to deliver ordnance. So obviously, if you are weighted vertically, potentially you can have a lot of ordnance at the bottom and you don't have to worry about which wings you're doing stuff from because you're effectively like a pendulum. But then again, that might have its own handling issues. Yeah.
Right, back to you then, Algared. Zion influence. I think that's the only other thing I can bring the verticality back into play, yeah?
Yep. And when you look at the Freelancer has supposed to have been built out using a whole pile of Xeon influence. So any ships that are built after the Freelancer, that are, you know, in law said to be after the Freelancer, should be having Xeon influence. They may have more. So I would fully expect a Misk Fury as a new ship to include a whole pile of Xeon influence, whether it's Razor-esque, whether it's Tanner, whether it's the Freelancer style, but it will have a Zion influence. What that is, good question. And 6 to 1, half a dozen to another is how you do it. Fury is, if it's a big ship, it's the big missile boat, or Freelancer. If it's a fighter, then I'd expect it to be more like a fighter, and what language they do for that. Do they take design language that makes it more like a Santoku Eye or a in that sense? Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. That's
interesting.
the most I can do.
Kind of half interesting question just dropped there in chat. Sounds like it's a new person by Sebastian that says, question for each of you. If you had to pick your favorite ship that are under $100 for a new player to start out with, which one would you recommend? Would you pick one ship or would you go for two? Let Badgers go first.
I'd go for one.
Agreed.
and I would start off right at the low end. I would probably start off with the cutter, and the reason for that is that you've got in a very cheap package compared to where you need to go next to get the same thing. You've got interior to the ship. You've got the ability to store cargo within the ship, so you've got an active cargo grid. There are apparently even some vehicles that may or may not fit inside it. You know,
The mule does.
you've got yeah, perfect. So the mule will fit inside it. So you've got the ability then to experience pretty much everything. You can go and do some combat. You can go and do some, you can go and do some cargo. You can do pretty much whatever you want with it. And from there, earn up, rent some stuff, figure out what it's like. The best thing to do is get yourself a game package for the cheapest that you can. And then go on and just ask people in chat. Just open up. I want to see has anyone got it? And you'll be amazed how many people will be happy to spawn the ship, let you fly off in it.
I think me and Algared would agree with that. I think the only other ships would, if you're upgrading from there, our usual fare would be cutter,
The Titan.
and then the Cutlass. And I think the other ones, like if we're going slightly over 100, we're going to start going into the C1 and the Freelancer. The other one I want to throw back to you though, Badgers, is now you've had some more time with it. What about the C8R? Would you think that? Do you think that's worth us adding to that list?
I really like the C8R. I think the one downside of it, and you're going to tell me the cutter doesn't have one now, is that it doesn't have a bed. As in your log in, log out bed. The cutter does, right?
But the cutter does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it does.
So the C8R doesn't. It's got the med bed. So yes, I love the C8R. But thanks, Can, by the way.
Well, you bring up beds. Let me just address that for a second. I actually think beds in small ships are starting to be a very terrible idea because they're not going to be going very far anyway, traditionally speaking. If you are trying to go really far in them, then a bed is worthwhile because if you have to log out, the option is there. But if you are really far out there, you can still log out. You'll just come back in your ship, but you know what I mean? Like they've literally said you can. If you disconnect, you'll come back where you were started. So why can't you just Alt F4 and come right back where you started just 2 days later? I know
they used to say, I know they used to say if you logged out and you were out at space,
your ship will
try and fly back to a nearest base.
But if you are between two locations, Algared, that's a benefit, not a. If you're in the middle of a really huge system and your ship's trying to fly back for you, then that's not. It'll probably run itself out of fuel trying to do that, though.
I know the other day when I was in the Vulture, it wouldn't let me log out because the ship wasn't landed. Today I was flying around. I went to Everest Harbour. Everest Harbour was full and no pads available. Crap! Fly out of the atmosphere zone. Logged out. It logged me out.
Sorry, just to update. Sebastian said in chat there, I was on the fence between the Avenger Titan and the Cutter. They are both very good at what they do. The other one that I'd actually chuck in there that Paul's really brought to my attention, especially tractor beams today coming online, is the 315p. I think Algared, that might be our go-to now instead of the Nomad. Because it doesn't quite hold as much cargo as the Nomad, but I believe it's 12, so that's double the Avenger. So if it's
cheap, and I think it's cheaper than a Nomad because the Nomad's 90-ish, I think.
Yeah, but so it still gives you a little bit of a cargo, but you get the utility tractor beam, and you just don't get the weirdness of the Nomad's a good ship, but that's an earning game ship. It's just too expensive for what it is. And we're not going to go over that again because there's too many things to go over there.
In answer to the question, I think the best ship for under $100 though, for a start, if you're looking to start off, is that cutter to start off with, because it does, as Badger said, give you everything. Like the thing that frustrated me with the Aurora and the Mustang is they're basically fighters. You got this game where the best thing about this game is the fact that I am not the ship is not the avatar. I am the avatar. I fly the ship. I can get up and walk around the ship. And you couldn't really do that.
So to make
It
it
was nuts.
So to make it concise for you, Sebastian, the other reason to get the cutter is that at the end of the day, if you don't like the cutter, you can upgrade. Where once you have the ship above, you can't downgrade. So try the cutter. They get you into the game. Try the game. Ask someone to borrow their Titan. I guarantee you, being Star Citizens, everyone wants to show you their ships. Just try all the ships that you like and find the one for you. You might find you're really into cargo or salvage or mining. Find your niche, then you got a direction to aim for. So start low, aim high.
The other thing you can also do, if there's no one around to loan you a ship, you can often rent the ships, some of the ships at the spaceports for
You would have
cheap,
to be
and then fly them for a day.
very unlucky not to find someone
you
to
would
show
have to
you a
be.
ship, though. Like it is like,
It would.
yeah. Sometimes when we did the buyer's guides and Algared wasn't around and I had to try out a ship, I would just get on a server and say, "Has anyone got the new ship?" Blah blah blah, and they would just come out of the woodwork, you know, to show you their new ship.
Because I love showing off your ships.
That's it.
And
It's that
you know,
simple.
yeah.
And this is
All right,
this is
execution.
not now when they it's execute. You
No.
know, this is going years back when I just a regular guy. I'm still just a regular guy, but you know what I mean. Like I don't get special
Yep.
privileges or anything. Yeah. All right. I hope that answers your question, Sebastian. Just you sounded
Yep.
like a new person, so I wanted to help you out. All right. Next question, please.
Badges.
I'm going to cut the bot off too, because we've got 10 minutes to 3 hour mark. So I'm going to cut that off because we're going to be going past our, and I don't want to go long today
Yeah.
because I'm, again, if
Yep.
you haven't been here, I've had a week. I've been
Even
still very sick.
So Junior asks, does the tractor beam negate mass and gravity?
Yeah, I think that what was shown today, that's how I'm kind of seeing it. I don't know if you guys see it differently, but yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how much of the some of the video things like the Aurora and was just them having a bit of fun with it and just postulating. But it does seem that it does at least negate mass and gravity, so to some degree.
There's a joke there, but I'm not going to say it to you, but just
Yeah.
leave it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know
It's so harsh.
what it is that the what ham wavium it is to justify its existence. All I can say is that there's a maximum weight that you can pick up, and obviously the bigger the thing that you're in and the bigger tractor beam they use, the bigger the thing that you can pick up is. So there.
Yep.
NOV A42 asks, did you mention what the hurricane may increase to? Yeah, mate, we said about $20-$25 increase, we reckon.
Yeah, 220. I did message him directly when he dropped that in Twitch because it was just after we said it.
Gotcha. So Wyborg 1978 says, do you like the new merchandise in the Plague Store, the work shirt, the stickers, and the glasses?
I haven't checked it out. Let me have a look.
Yeah. I think I'm fine.
What happened?
I think the glasses are a bit expensive. Yeah, other than that.
What happened? Sorry, I
The
missed the
glasses
question.
are always expensive.
There's new merchandise in the Pledge Store. Work shirt, stickers, and glasses. Pint glasses.
Want to have a look? Want to have a look? I got to get off this though.
Yeah.
Yeah, pint glasses, they're nice, expensive, but nice.
Where are we going?
The work shirts are industrial work shirts. They're not really work shirts.
Merchandise. I'm going to be
They're
honest.
grunt
Like
shirts.
their merchandise has been really lacking for years. I've only ever really liked the mouse pads, and they got really expensive when they screwed us over with postage, and the Polaris shirt, and they never ever did why would they not do a reprint of that? That thing sold out so quick. Do you know why they never did it again? Because we liked it and we made it and they didn't. That's why. I think they did it as a one-off and they never expected it to, they probably did such a small print run that they just never I can't understand why they never brought that back. I would have brought 5 of that thing. It's such a good quality shirt, and I love it. It's my favorite shirt, and my damn cats love it too. They put all holes in it, little bastards. Yeah. So none of this speaks to me.
I do like the Hawaiian shirt, the Ports of Stanton shirt, personally.
I still want to know why we've never seen Disco Lando walking around in the Pico Penguin slippers, personally. But
Do
So
you really want to?
where's the new stuff? Maybe I'm blind.
Right at the top.
Pint
Oh,
Right
glasses.
at the top. You've got the Star
with
Citizen,
the really big
vinyl,
sticker saying "new" on it.
Star Citizen pint glasses, and the Drake Interplanetary
so
workshop.
expensive. $80 for a
Yeah.
shirt. That's insane.
Yeah.
It'd want to be really good.
Even
So,
if that was
no-
Australian dollars, that's insane.
So our same friend NOV842 asks, do I need to rebuy my Hurricane to Terrapin CCU to get the price increase savings? No. Where you need to own a CCU is where the ship that's being CCU'd to hasn't yet been released. You need to own it when it's released and when the price increase happens. To get the savings. If it's in your buybacks and then you buy it back afterwards, you will buy it as the new CCU, not what you had before.
Yep.
So what you want to do in this instance, if you buy the Hurricane to CCU, Terrapin CCU now, you'll buy it at the Hurricane's current price. So don't do that. Wait until the Hurricane goes up. If that still puts the Terrapin in higher than, I can't remember what the Terrapin is now. It's 240, isn't it? Something like that.
No, if you want the savings, you have to buy it now. So I brought Super Hornet to Hurricane Warbond, is what I brought. And these cost.
What was it? If the Hurricane's the one that's going up in price,
Yeah. So it's the one.
and it's the starter ship.
So
If the gap between them now is $45, and then it goes up in price, and now it's only $20.
So it's the one it's going to that you're buying. So as you can see here, it's a Super Hornet.
Yeah, that's not what he's asking. What he's asking is, do I need to rebuy my Hurricane to Terrapin to get the price increase savings? That's why I'm saying no.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is, there's almost no point selling that because then you lose that link in your chain as well, right? But if you want to gain dollars, so to speak, and you're not gaining them, let's just put it that way, you're just saving. You're not gaining in any way. You never spend it to begin with, right? So you can keep all the CCU chains that you've got now. That's no problem. But if you're trying to, potential savings down the line, then you buy things like this, right? But at the end of the day, the one you've got will be fine. In fact, Terrapin's 225, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So in a weird turn of phrase, I would hold on to the one you've got just to be safe. And then when the Hurricane goes up in price and Invictus drops, you pick up a Hurricane to Terrapin CC for $5 and melt your old one. That's what I'd be doing if I were you. So so your old Hurricane, which is it's $30 CCU becomes a $5 CCU. So you're actually will be getting $30 credit back. But hold on to the
echo in here.
Yeah, sorry, I was doing two things at once. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
Me, dude, I'm sick. I've got an excuse. What the fuck's your reason anyway?
I'm trying to look like you.
Terrapin, by the way, is 220, not 225. But yeah.
Oh, then again, see, okay. Oh no, I've mixed it up with the MSR.
Yeah.
I've mixed it up with the MSR. That's what I've done.
That's okay.
So at 220, then you definitely can't melt it because if you melt it, it essentially becomes a $0 CCU. So you'll never be able to buy one.
Okay,
which makes me wonder.
On,
makes me wonder if they will make it like 215 then. Just so
we are
it's got
about 2 hours, 10 minutes behind the question curve. So just to thunder a couple of these out. Carl Smith asks, the Matrix of Lies says the Cutty Black has one tractor beam. Aren't there three? The rear overhanging hardpoint with the steel has a remote turret, and then the two you can see on the front wings.
I think certain versions have a tractor beam on the back, and only certain versions have the. Almost all the other versions have two on the front. But I would have to go look in at I can't do that in 5 seconds. Because
I think
tractor beams. I'm not a stats man. That's Algared's. That's Algared's area, not mine.
Yeah.
Like I think you'd find that it may have hard points for those tractor beams at the front, and we only say that because we've looked at the Cutty Black, and you look at the front, and it says tractor beam. There's indications that it's a tractor beam when you look at the ship. They always said, from memory, that the Cutty Black had a tractor beam at the back. so that you could actually use it to tractor things into the hold. The red certainly had one but there, so you could tractor wounded people into the hold, so you could actually heal them. I can't remember if the blue had it, but certainly the black was one that always had the tractor beams at the back. Does it have extra?
Yeah. So, like, this just shows you how out of date this shit is, right? It literally says one tractor beam, one tractor beam, one tractor beam.
Yeah.
The Cutlass Red doesn't have any. Now, I know from way back in the day that both those are on either side are a tractor beam.
I think we've even looked at the graphics.
Yeah.
And looked at it, and it basically says tractor beam.
Yeah.
But they always talked about them having a tractor beam at the back for loading cargo, and I know the red was supposed to have. I thought the red was supposed to have one, but
what do you say? What is this picture you've sent me of pirate ships?
When we were talking about Alpha, I was gonna get you to display that to talk about Alpha, but we'll carry on with the question. That's the Sea of Thieves Alpha.
There you go.
That's what it looks like, because that's what it should be. It should be basic and blocky to build out the core parts of the game. Right. Okay. So, Nov, I see you in.
Hang on, just real quick. Back when I built games, I remember there was a ski game I was looking at. Do you know what the ski game was? It was literally a ramp. The person was a box, and the ski was like a rectangle underneath the person. But even in that, you could tell the gameplay was good enough to make the game. You know, like you don't need all the pretty graphics to tell the gameplay. The gameplay's got to be there. Anyway,
so no, what I would do, mate, is I would head over to the CCU help and ask questions in there, because we're answering a lot of questions for a very niche part of the for a very niche part of the conversation at the minute. ExoWolf07 asks, if you had the choice to buy a 600i Touring or Explorer, which one would you get and why? I'm going to ask this to Algared, because we all know X's answer to that.
I've already answered it. I answered in chat as soon as he asked it.
I know you did, which is why I've not gone to you. Stay there.
And chat will tell you my answer. Anyway.
Personally, if I was going either the Explorer, I think the Carrack is a better Explorer at the moment. The rework may change our minds. I know that the 600 is a smaller ship than the Carrack, kind of, sort of, and has less crew. That might make it better and easier for those who have smaller ability, but I don't think it's got the same ability as a Carrack. The touring variant, again, the rework will tell me whether it's good or not, and at the moment I wait for the rework for that. I've kept them. I had them, I kept them. I was always intending to wait to see what they're like, even though because I like the exterior, I hate the interior.
Don't you get sassy with me, Nov? I can literally see your chat message where you're asking about CCU chain on the same page as where you're saying you guys are behind.
Real quick though, I do have to fix something he said there. He did say, as long as the hurricane doesn't go over the Terrapin. That's not incorrect, because as long as you've actually got that link, you can actually have CCUs that will take you backwards. That's why it's important to keep everything in chains and don't just panic and melt, because you bought it at that price, you've locked in that price. Who cares if it's gone up and down? As long as the chains remain linked, you're totally fine. So that information is not technically correct, Nova. He should keep everything he's got, but if something comes up and it allows him to do a new connection, he's still got the old one. So once he's got a new one and it's less, then you can delete the old one. Don't ever delete one until you've secured the second one.
Yeah, especially if you want that link to remain.
Because you don't want to be in deep shit and not have the link.
Yep.
All right, sorry, Badgers, but I had to correct that misinformation.
See, it's not so easy when people are hurrying you along, is it?
Hurry the fuck up.
Anyway, moving swiftly on. So, ExoWolf, very quickly, mate, for your answer for the 600i Touring or Explorer, I'd probably go Touring, because I don't have a Touring ship in my fleet, so it would fill that hole. That's what she said.
I think realistically, if that were my only two options, I'd probably go the Explorer, because you're just probably going to get more use out of it. in my personal opinion.
You just wanted to go contrary to me, didn't you?
I do. No, but I do think Origin is really a brand that does speak to a lot of role players. If you're a role player, that is your jam. I am not a role player, never have been. And I do think they are the end game ship, as in they're the money sink. I just wish they hadn't have done Origin when they did, because I think it's now showing that they thought they knew it all and they could do it. You know, it was a good time to do Origin. I just don't think they should have done. You know, because now the 400i's come out, you can clearly see they've learned a lot. Now they're going to do the 600i, and I think that, I don't know, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think it shows they're going to redo the 890 as well, at least internally.
I think I'd quite be happy for that. Wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah,
but yeah, you look at the 100i, you look at the 100i and the 400i, and you
Yeah.
see the work they did on that. And even when they redid the rework of the 300, there was a definite progression in how they were doing the luxury stuff. And it is a lot better than it was when it was first done. Like, any regret with the 300 is the loss of the gull wings, because I liked the DeLorean kind of feel, but the gull wings were an absolute waste of space because you couldn't do anything in the ship.
They should have had them rotate like the Argo MPUV doors. Like, I actually really like how they rotate forward. That's like a Lamborghini door type of thing. Whatever car it is, there's a car that has that style of door. But also, you got to remember back then too, Algared, it had those ridiculously long legs as well. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
If we don't move along swiftly,
farming.
Uncle Badgers is going to start yelling at us, so we better go.
Empirical Farming asks, will jump points have a cooldown or just the engine's cooldown?
That's a really good question. Never, ever has that ever come up. I assume fuel will be the main restriction. You know?
Yeah. I'd imagine that there'll probably be maybe some sort of queuing system to go through, so you're not all trying to jump at the same time, maybe.
Yeah, or cooling like it does of the current quantum drive, but also, and is it a much bigger cooling? And fuel.
And remember that the jump point is an attachment that goes on the quantum drive. So the jump engine is literally a plug-in on the quantum drive. So if quantum drives have a cooldown when they're quantum jump, it's going to be significant. I imagine it's going to be at least the same, if not significantly more.
That's news to me.
If you look at your engines, if you look at your quantum engines, you can often see there's a space above it, which is where your jump drive connection goes. So, but yeah. Anyway.
Awesome. Yeah, I think some sort of cooldown certainly will work because it stops people abusing, like retaliators jumping through, launching torpedoes, and then jumping out again before there can be any sort of return strike. Monster AV asks, outfitting ships is going to be a question. Will you just take it from the store and then the inventory and then drop it and track it onto the ship? And how would it work in reverse? Would you just add a ship's guns to your inventory?
Sorry, I'm mentally trying to.
So in terms of when now if we change the loadout, are we forced to do that manually, or can we still do that with the ship stored? And similarly, if we want to take ships or whatever off a ship, do we have to do that manually, or can we do that when it's stored into an inventory?
That was the one thing that was missing for today's episode, because you can have a gun in inventory currently, and then you can drag it and you can apply it to your ship, but you can't take it off the ship and make it physicalized. So does it have to be put onto the ship before it get to be physicalized and then taken out? Or can you just take it and say, do you put it into the inventory of the ship and it just mysteriously appears in the cargo bay? That's a really good question, Monster, to be honest with you. And I'm leaning towards the earlier one, the former, because I think it means it's simpler for them. It just, because that's how it is right now, isn't it? It pops onto the ship, you just take it off, and then you could literally put another one onto it. Yeah, I think that's where it'll be initially. because that's how it is right now. That makes most logical sense.
They did talk about the exploit where people could take the components out of a ship and then destroy the ship and reclaim it, and that would be a crime.
Yep.
So they are thinking along those times, but how are they going to implement it and at what point, at what level?
They'll probably say it's something like components have serial numbers, and if they can track the serial numbers that you're trying to sell to yourself, that's how they'll lure it, so to speak. Yeah. All right, next question.
Okie dokie. Matthew asks, why do you think CIG isn't doing work on the Prowler when all the tech except stealth is in the game?
Because it's not needed. Like, anything that's not being worked on is just not a priority. You got to remember Squadron 42, and like, what does that possibly provide? What is the benefit? So let's look at what happened today with the SRV and tractor beams. That affects so many things across the entire game. Like, what are the gains that you get? You get way more gains out of tractor beams than you're going to get out of the hovertech, the shields, like that, and most of the stuff on that ship is pretty bespoke. Yeah, that's the only ship that really kind of, like, I know there's a couple other ships that have air shields and stuff like that, but it's just tractor beams is huge compared to that. So same amount of works, but heaps bigger gains. So you got to look at it like that. Where can the most gains be gained? That's simple.
Okay, look, Daily Noob Paname asks, with being able to take components with a tractor beam and use them on other ships, does that mean I can soft def one of my ships for my friends to fit out their ships and vice versa? Then both of us can just claim our ships and repeat. If so, that seems broken. They did talk about that bit and saying about how they don't want that to work like that at the minute, and they're figuring out how that's going to happen.
And eventually down the line, you'll have known aliases and stuff like that too. So if you keep feeding your friends materials, you'll all get the crime stat as well. That will be the thing eventually.
I could do that.
Yeah.
I could see that being a thing. Certainly with the crime stat aspect.
Johnsky asks, so how does the tractor beam snap critical components into place in the correct orientation? Is this space magic? Badgers, does the Navy do this today? Auto snap components into place? Nope. We have no tractor beams, contrary to popular belief.
They did say in the video you can now rotate. So when you're holding the mouse, you can move the mouse right and left, and it will rotate. So there's a button you can hold. So maybe like you hold mouse 1 or something like that, and then it goes into a position mode, and then so you can make it rotate with the mouse. They literally said that in the video today.
That's what the yellow outline was, that it wasn't oriented correctly, and you had to turn it so that it would. I think.
Oh, that's okay. I didn't think of that, but that's a very good point.
So Zeb Pilot asks, with the tractor beam able to move fuel canisters, are Mole and Prospector's saddlebags going to work? I guess as part of the same update, I'm guessing.
So I think that person probably thought that just as we were thinking it too when we talked about it before. So we kind of addressed that one, but I would expect that you can at least remove the saddlebags, but I don't know if they'll actually be functional. I could pray that they'll be functional though. That'd be really cool. Anyway, we'll have to wait and see.
That would be really good if they are. Yep.
Kiddo.
Next one.
So we did the question about AIs being paid by real time, didn't we? Oh no, we did it for players. So King DDD asks, do you think AIs will be paid by time players spend in the game, or by real world time when they're finally introduced?
I think
so. When you pay for 3 days, is it 3 days of in-game time, or is it 3 days real world?
I think they'll be paid just like players are. So if a player is out there with you working, and they get I think it'll be exactly the same for the NPCs. So if you log out, it'll be treated as in they've logged out too. So yeah.
Absolutely, and it ties in with what we've said about insurance. If I recall correctly, insurance is time in game, not real world. So Why would you have insurance being time in game and your AI employees being real time?
Yeah.
It wouldn't make sense.
Yeah.
At least to me.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Our Butter asks, do you think you could use tractor beams on tased and stunned bodies?
I think eventually, when the bubble stuff comes in, I think you'll be able to use them on. Like he did say, aggressive. He was using the word aggressive today, right? So eventually, they want to have tractor beams that, at the moment it's bodies and boxes. He said that, right? So eventually, they want to be able to just like. They even showed the bouncy being picked up like an alien, the cow and the UFO tractor beam.
Being 100% down the track.
I think your net's just had a hiccup there, Algared. Do you want to say that again?
Yeah, just agreeing with what you're saying. Basically, I was just saying, mirroring exactly the same point.
Yeah, I think it also showed that we will probably be getting some light elevators down the way. Like I can't like when I saw that, I was just like, why isn't there a ship that just has a tractor beam elevator? But anyway, we'll see.
To me, the tractor elevators almost are the Xeon Tech. You look at the Xeon Tech elevators, and they're basically just a light, a flat bay for the grid, and it's almost just a rising like elevator thing. It doesn't need the mechanics or other stuff. So, yeah.
Yep. Next one, Badgers. Unless you want to answer that a bit better yourself.
No, they did say within that video that they were talking about using tractor beams to hold people in place so you could collect the bounty on them. So yes, I think that's the way that's going to go. Not entirely sure. I think this might be a misunderstanding. So Justin Wolf 53 asks, put size 5 weapons on an Aurora, ? No, I think the weapons you move still have to be the same size.
Yeah,
or lesser.
You can't put you can't put a square peg in a round hole, essentially.
Exactly what I was about to say. You can't put a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
You got a size component. That's just circle. You can't put a square, the size 3 onto that just because it won't fit.
Thank you for that subscription.
Not even if you bash it with a hammer.
Thank you for that subscription for Frosty Coyote TV. Thank you very much. All right, next question, Mr. Badger.
Stason Mason asks, should we expect a bigger version of SRV for bigger size ships? I think we kind of covered that off at the time, I think.
We did.
I think we did.
Yeah. Cool. And then Zed Pilot asks, do you think the Odyssey's tractor beam will be able to move mineable rocks now? Could I fill my cargo hold with shattered rock pieces for later use, for instance?
I totally expect that tractor beams are going to be used for rocks because they had those on. They have tractor beams on the
Orion.
The Orion. They also have it on the Reclaimer. Absolutely. They talked about 2 tractor beam operators moving rocks into the mouth of the Orion back in the concept, didn't they, Algared, if you remember?
Yep.
So,
I could see people using the Odyssey like that. They go to a mineable, quantanium rock. But once you suck the quantanium out, it starts to deteriorate and you've got to refine it and all the rest of it. So if your tanks are full and you can't take any more in, you just put the rocks in your cargo hold and then do the final breakdown of them later on. Yeah, I could see people doing that. Extend the fuel.
Yeah, agreed. I think a lot of this stuff is being built so that we can do pretty much what we want with it, right? So later on, when these things are movable by us and interactable, that's the whole point of them. So yeah, maybe you find another high value quantanium rock and your refinery is already full and your saddlebags are full or whatever. So yeah, you just break it down, you grab the bits that are of use to you, and then you put them back out in front of the mining laser when you've got space.
That's
I don't see why not.
Another use of the SRV there, dragging rocks and salvage back to other vehicles.
Yep.
Just
another way it scales.
Just to address some people still asking questions. I turned questions off 20 minutes ago. because we still have a bunch to do. And I wanted it to be a short stream today because I do not
Yep.
feel the best, and I do feel a lot worse than when we started. So yeah, all right,
And we're notching close to 4 hours now. So
yeah.
Okay, Luke 5G2 asks, do you think we'll be eventually able to buy in-game ship essentials pack like food and water, etc., rather than currently having to buy each individual item?
Absolutely.
Yep.
would be
A box of water, box of ration packs, box of food, and
Yep.
in exactly the same way as everything else, you'll have a big container with it, and then you'll be taking stuff out of that rather than the individual stuff that we have now.
Yep.
We just have the individual stuff now because you got to have that before you have the big stuff.
Just like everything else,
Yep.
there's probably different qualities of food too. Like it looks like some of the food preparation areas are like an area to redo dehydrated food. There are ones that actually look like you can actually properly cook, stuff like that. So I'd expect the same thing, like how, like again, it's tailored to the ship. If it's military, it's probably going to be bare essentials like the rations, as I said. But then if it's somewhere someone actually lives and works, then you'd expect it. Look at the I'm trying to give you know how you got the sit down tables in a Drake or in the mole, look, but then you look at, say, something else like the Redeemer. The Redeemer's just got, that small food prep area, but there's not any proper seats or anything. It's the bare essentials. You can make some food, but you're roughing it. So I expect and so there has to be food that goes along in line with that. In my book, anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you look at the 890 jump. It's got massive storage space for food, but at the moment you can't use it. So I could see, having
that's the other
crates
end of that's the other end of town, isn't it? That's fine class dining. That's a 5-half Michelin star restaurant. That's the creme de la creme. That's where all the top. I've gone down the cooking profession. Now I'm getting paid the big bucks. Mountain. What was that called? The what's the name of the one in the ad? The Gatsby.
The Gatsby.
Yeah, the Gatsby. Like things like that. So yeah. All right.
Okay, Adamoth asks, do you think that the tractor beams will break the economy? No, because the economy as it is now isn't dynamic enough. And when they have full dynamic economy in, what we do with tractor beams won't be enough to outweigh what the Quanta are doing.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
Absolutely agree with that one.
We might break the servers with tractor beams and cargo and pairs and all the other crap, but
and proudly. But yes. Okay, Janice Morrissey asks, has any one of you guys seen the adverts on 318, official CIG video stating 318 playable now? As soon as 318 dropped, it was a bit of a slap in the face to people that can't get on. Yeah, I think that's why they did it. It's like, woo, look at what you could have won.
I didn't see any of the ads. So there you go.
Did you not?
Nope.
They released 3 videos at about that point, and one of them was appearing on YouTube videos at the time.
Was it Lasting Legacies is the one that says playable now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, Algared, what subject do you lecture?
I am a history teacher by training, hence my love of law. I currently teach language. And I teach Indonesian, and my students say, why do we learn Indonesian? And I say, because it is the easiest language, bar none.
He also teaches fashion in hair for obvious reasons.
That's right. I teach hair fashion. My students all
someone asked
all
me.
amazed.
Someone asked me during the week, where does all the YouTube money go from the YouTube channel? And I go, it goes into hair plans for Algared.
That's right. And none of them have taken yet.
Forever trying. All right. Next question, Badgers.
It's so mean, you Algared. Algared, there'll be a help number on the end of the screen. If you're getting abused, just call the number and someone will come rescue.
That's right. Domestic abuse and all that stuff. Abuse is never an option. Just say no.
We know who
It's
the real
I
victim
feel
is, though.
so sad for both of you that I'm sick and you've still got to both gang up on me to try and defeat me. It's hilarious. One day,
I'm not
evil mastermind.
Whoa, whoa! I was about to actually come to your fucking defense, there, young man. Yeah, fucking Jesus! I was about to say, actually, we know who the violent ones is in this relationship because the other one's got fucking marks on his face. But I think more you know why you've got the marks on your face now.
Yeah,
Fucking deserve them. Discipline, respect. And I'm getting cancelled for that. Okay, Ducasso asks, oh no, God, no, we're not talking about the Crucible, it's boring. Sebastian, we already answered that one. Thank you for your question, dude.
Picasso, it would be nice, but I'm happy for it to be left off for as long as they need to. Because the Church of a Crucible needs it to be perfect.
No, I think what he means is it will be available for purchase in Invictus. And I actually can't remember. I'm going to be honest with you. I think it is traditionally been available in Invictus. But don't quote me on that. Because it falls under resupply and repair. So it can fall under the military banner. And it is an anvil ship. So, yeah, I'd lean more towards yes. But I'd have to go double check, man. It's been a while.
Yeah. And I can't remember. But, yeah.
And I'm under the weather, so you can forgive me. But, yeah, plan for it, but don't... Go back and check. Go back and check if it was available previous years. Someone in chat might be able to let us know. Lemming's the person I'd be asking for that. Lemming tends to know his shit really well. Lemming, can you let us know if you can hear us, if it was available? Or anyone, if you know it was available at last Invictus, just let us know in chat, and then you'll see the response. And if it comes up, we'll let you know.
Old man Hurston teaches proper obedience, that's right, and etiquette. Proper
teaches
etiquette, yes.
Riot suppression, all that sort of stuff. Jack the Nomad O'Neill asks, what will drop first, the Odyssey or the Galaxy? I'm going to go with Odyssey. What do you guys think?
I'll let Algared answer because I'm answering a message.
I don't really care which one comes first, but I would think that possibly the Galaxy will come first because at the base level, they're not putting any components in, so you're not putting any of the modules in. If you've got the cargo module, it's just a cargo ship. They've got the medical stuff already. They put that bed in, that bay in easily. The refinery is a tough one. So...
The requirement for the Odyssey, probably the one is the underground. It's the same as the Orion and the underground mining. So it really comes down to what comes first, underground mining. Yeah, that's a tough one because you also need scanning for the Odyssey. As you said, the refining part, but the refining's it really is just and it only does Quantanium, doesn't it? So that's a lot easier. And then you've got the Galaxy, which needs the modules and all that. But we know they're starting to work on modules, so half a dozen of one and 6 of the other type thing. So yeah.
I don't necessarily think that we need to wait for ground mining and scanning for the Odyssey because it can do exactly what the Prospector does and just have that functionality added. It's not like it's being added with no functionality. Whereas the modularity, I think that's going to be a much longer game. I could be wrong, but I think that's going to be a much longer game.
Tempastor is suggesting you're an assassin like the guy from Hitman 47. I can see that, Algared. Do you have a barcode on the back of your head?
What? No, I don't have any barcodes anyway.
That's what we get for your first tattoo, Algared. If we raise heaps of money or something like that one day, we just get you a barcode on the back of your head like Hitman 47.
That'd
be great.
Okay,
even temporary would be funny, like just a temporary one. The ones that last couple of weeks would be funny.
Hands of Doom, the Doom Hammer, asks, will the C1 Spirit be released soon?
When it's ready.
I would say the end of the year. They know they're moving into production. So I would say Invictus CitizenCon, but just based on the stuff that they've said. Actually, I can probably go us back to the roadmap. Hang on.
Yep.
And we can check that for you. Road map. And then click this one over. Sorry, it's still loading. And spirit. Only I could type. There you go, June. And that is
So
EU vehicle team. Yeah. Could be earlier. Could be with 319. Who
building
knows?
barns and implementing Crusader ship into game. So yeah.
That kinda
Yeah,
answers
question bot's strolling you limited respawn. It's still asking for questions. He's not actually recording them, which is helpful.
No, I just closed the bot and then it stops ringing the questions in.
Gotcha.
So Nightbot is just all Nightbot does is drop a message every 5 minutes telling people how to ask questions, right? That's so we don't have to keep telling people to put question in there.
Gotcha.
That's all that does.
The bot that sucks the questions out for us, that's been turned off.
Closed.
And a rare event, but we have got to the last one. So last question of the evening. If you check out the new ISC at 7 minutes 50 seconds, it looks like they are in the spirit, especially the door on the right looks like the one in the concept art.
750.
Dun dun dun.
Example sitting around next to you.
I honestly
It's
thought
not the
that
MSR.
yeah, that was where my brain went. MSR or Crusader. All right, let's have a thorough look here. Hold on.
Yeah.
Internal components that are size 0, size 1, and size
I
2.
didn't really pay attention.
You will
to
be
that shit.
able to.
It was just I'm just looking at the console, but
I think you could be right.
Yeah, door on the right doesn't look like a Hercules or anything, does it?
No, it doesn't.
doesn't look like any door we've seen previously. So
That's definitely a Corsair. Right, you can tell from the ramp. But yeah, that
Mm.
one there, you're probably a good spot there, man. I don't know
Yeah.
any ship that
could
has
very well be.
that conduit up there as well. And the batteries.
And it's a Crusader ship.
Good call.
Yeah, good call. Could be the spirit, in fact.
And the fact you've got the Crusader logo on the thing there, it's definitely a Crusader ship. So
Yep.
it's not any Crusader ship we know of. So yeah.
There you go. Could be getting the spirit as early as it is technically possible. Like, I don't think it'll be for 319 though, because 319 is Invictus, and it literally does say here progress tracker June, so that puts it past Invictus. So that would put it into the next patch territory, which is August, September. But knowing what's coming in 320, I think that's going to push it to end of the year.
Yeah.
But if they do it as an incremental patch, though they're not doing
And they could do that.
they've said they're not doing incrementals anymore, so maybe it is a 320 patch in August, September, which is your Citizen. Yeah, it could be Citizen. That's the earliest I think we'll see the spirit is at CitizenCon. But yeah, I don't know what you guys think there. Nice little spot there. Yeah, that could be our first little kind of glimpse of the what do you call it?
Spirit.
The spirit. Sorry,
Components based in the spirit. And if they are doing that, like unlike other ships, they're actually doing the components being able to be taken out already in that ship. So it would make sense if they're building the ship and they're looking at putting tractor play in to actually start making it so those components come in and out rather than just being graphic pictures. So
yeah, and just as a whole, Nova. So Nova's asking A1 with Invictus. Yeah, absolutely, it's a military ship. Anything that's military based will be at Invictus. And I also think that's probably why we saw so many ships available at St. Patrick's Day during the week. There were ships there that I was like, why the hell are these for sale? They've never been for sale. But it's because it gave them a chance to sell those more non-military based ships. You know, so there were things there like things that just I wouldn't expect to see at Invictus. So it gave them a chance to sell them 6 months later, so to speak. Yeah.
Yep.
All right then, I'm gonna have a quick look for someone to raid. If someone's got a question in chat, you can probably answer that real quick while I try to find someone. But other than that, we will be trying to do a video this weekend as well. I don't know if you'll be joining us, Badgers, but you are more than welcome to if you have the time.
Pretty sweet.
I don't know what the topic is though. I haven't picked one yet. It's trying to come to me. Trying to see if there's anyone there I want to raid. What about Mr. Zero State? We haven't raided him in a hot minute, I think. What else there? That one?
So don't forget, like, subscribe, hit that bell, do all those other nice things we like that YouTubers and Twitch streamers love you to do. If you really do like our content and would like to support us even more, we do have Patreon. There's always things like the thanks button and etc. that you can do. Those things are funding financially is never expected, never acquired, but always appreciated and always makes us feel humble and amazed at the support we get. But please do make sure for YouTube, hit that bell, hit that subscribe button, because YouTube constantly does things that we have people say they don't get our content. So yeah, do
All
that
right.
so you get notified.
Goodbye, Twitch. See you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye.
Sunpay jumper.
Yep, so they're off to Zero State. YouTubers, as I said, yeah, show on the weekend. Have a good one. And with that, I think we'll call it. He's been Badgers. I've been out. I'm so sick. He's been Badgers. He's been Algared. I've been Execute.
He's been Execute, and we're out of here.
Catch
Take
you
care.
the next one. Oh boy, I'm going back to bed.